each and every one of us. We are talking about the murder of Masa Amini, the violations of human rights that continuously go on in Iran, as well as why this is important to the rest of the world. Why should we have people's eyes and hearts with us? We see a lot of times in tragedy and trauma, especially in the Western world, quickly people will say prayers for Ukraine or prayers for Paris or prayers for everything that is not anywhere else, as if trauma is a part of the rest of the world's existence. And I guarantee you that it is not. I guarantee you that the people bleed the exact same way that you do, no matter where in the world we are. So we should always have compassion. And in a world where there is a lot of things going on all the time, how do you siphon on what you should care and what you should not care about? Well, the truth is that fortunately for all of us, our hearts, unlike our stomachs, never get full. Our hearts have the infinite capacity to love and care about each and every one. And so we're using portions of our hearts just to be there, simply being the voice or amplifying the voice of those people who in Iran are right now cut off from the internet and from news media sources and feel like they're on an island of hopelessness and frustration. This in itself is an act of heroism. So
You
thank you
better
for
speak a word out here, Tehran, on this clubhouse streets. Everybody give it up for Tehran, because for real, yo.
He's on
honestly. I,
fire.
I appreciate you, Elijah, so much. I'm simply speaking. The least I can do is something like this. I'm not in the streets. I'm not getting shot at. I'm not getting clubbed to death because I'm not wearing my headdress. I'm doing the bare minimum of anything that we can all do. And it's because this is a slippery slope. When you see these things, that is why when Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. The concept is, yeah, it seems so far away until it's not. And usually, if you ever go on my Instagram, I am Tehran. But right now, I am Masa Amini. And the saddest thing is, tomorrow, it could be you. And that's why you should care, because tomorrow it could be any one of us, almost everywhere we go. Because the truth is that, as Guta pointed out, Iran's government as a regime, slowly regimes are spreading it to the rest of the world. Slowly, these things like rights to choose are being taken away in the rest of the world. And the parallel that I make to Black Lives Matter is that this is a social movement of the people, by the people, for the people, something that the system would not have changed had it not been for the eyes and hearts of the rest of the world, because it had not changed for so long. The only reason there's any progress right now is because people are paying attention. And it's crazy how that works. Crazy how it can work, right? I talk very like we're just friends with everybody. So if random guy goes to the bathroom, a random guy goes to the bathroom and nobody's in there, he might walk out and not wash his hands because nobody's there to hold him accountable. He's just gonna walk out and have pee pee hands for the rest of the day. But if people are in that same bathroom, that same dirty, funky, stanky guy will walk in the bathroom, wash his hands, and then walk out because he doesn't want everyone else to know how funky and stanky and disgusting he is. Well, that's how I feel about certain governments. That they're funky and stanky and disgusting, and all of our eyes needs to be on them all the time. They need to always be on under a microscope, because accountability and transparency leads to responsibility. And the people who are responsible for this need to take accountability and responsibility at its surest chorus level. And all we can do is be here and talk. But talking leads to ideas. And ideas can never be taken. And once you have talk and thought and unity, you have community, because that's all it is communication bridged with unity together. And that is why it matters to, or it should matter to, each and every single one of you.
Tehran,
Tehran,
this is
there's a
Raisa again.
similar.
I want to ask a permission from Tehran. Have you had a chance to pin the petition that we are trying to put together for Mahsa, for everyone to sign that petition?
I'm not aware of the petition right now. The only thing penned right now is the NPR article in regards, so that people can see that if there's a petition that goes
Yes.
on. I like to research things before I back
Yeah,
them.
sure. I'll send it to, I will
Yeah,
send it to you, and then you can
please.
research that. We are doing that all over. I will send it to you right away.
Yeah, I do like to. I love to research and be in the know. I don't like go to meme universities, or just when people are like, "Oh, I researched it." It's like, you Googled it. You have Google. I have Google. We all have Google. So I love knowing as much as possible, which is why I would like to hear from people who have personal experiences or personal stories. We would love to hear from that. We would love to hear some facts, and we'd love to hear people's opinions. And if anyone ever has questions, there are no stupid questions. Okay.
Tehran,
Tehran,
I wanted to share a personal story that I heard from a female friend of mine who actually we both heard the news about Mahsa last week, and she's Iranian, lives in Hamburg. I was in Europe. I live in California, Iranian American. And when we heard it, I mean, we were all upset, but she was like super disturbed. And I said, "What's going on?" She said it brought back a lot of memories. She's like 40 years old. I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Remember 2009, 2008, Green Revolution, Where's My Boat, and all that. And when Neda Agha Sultan, everyone saw her dying on the streets of Tehran." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, I was a university student at that time. And, just like others, we're just asking for our rights and all that. And another day, out of the blue, in front of my house, all of a sudden, a bunch of guys come and just grab me and just kidnap me, and I don't know what's going on. And they tell me, we'll tell you later. And then they take me, and I find out that since I was in university, blah blah blah, they arrested me. Anyway, she said I was in the prison for 3 4 years and they beat me. I said, "How did they beat you?" She said, "Primarily in my head." I said, "Why head? That's like really dangerous." He said, "Because that's where there's not, you don't show signs like the shows on the body, so that's where they hit you." And I like right there, she said, like, "That's why I know this is what happened to Massa." And I just know. And she said, actually, even after that, when I was released and later my dad sent me out to Germany, because I was just having seizures one after another, and that's what happened. So she said it brought back a lot of memories for me. I just wanted to share you the story that she told me last week.
May I also take up some space and actually speak on behalf of Iranian women as someone who was directly impacted by the regime? I apologize, I might sound a bit emotional, but that's how I feel right now. I was only 12 years old. This is when I was in Iran, in Tehran. And at the time, my own mother and my aunt, they were taken away by a van just because of their outfits. And they were completely covered, but in front of my eyes, my mom got arrested and they took her away. And I didn't know where she was, and that was such a traumatic event that I will never forget. Okay. Mahsa was one of many victims, okay, in Iran. Like, unfortunately, this tragedy, caused us to come here and like raise our voice. I've been always like a shy girl and like didn't really want to speak up, but enough is enough, and I think it's time to speak up and talk about the truth. Okay, the system of Iran is fucked up. It's unimaginable, like, from the education system. Okay, when I was 7 years old, I was an innocent girl, but forced to wear hijab. Okay, this was not by choice. And then our teachers would brainwash you into religion that you had no clue what was about, right? So it is a system. It's something that they program you into it. And you have to like shut up. If you speak up, you're going to end up in, in prison. You're going to end up in one of those vans. They're going to destroy your reputation. They're going to do anything they can to shut you up. Okay? And they've done it enough for the past 40 plus years. Okay? I think our people have had enough, and it's time to raise our voice, bring awareness around what's happening inside of Iran, because it's ugly, okay, and it's brutal, and they are violating our privacy and space. There is no safety for girls in Iran. I was abused, all right, because there is nobody to stand for you, and I'm still recovering from all the traumatic events that I experienced as an Iranian girl. That's all I have to say.
Shadi, this is Elijah. May I ask you a question about your mother? Was that a yes?
Elijah,
Yes, you may. You may.
Has that turned out? Is she? Would I mean? How is your mother faring to this day, or
My
since then?
mother, I would say she's never the same. That the prison experience for her, first of all, was shocking, like, because she was no criminal, bro. Like, for fucking like wearing a Ray-Ban, is that a crime? And then they had to pay them to release them. What the fuck? My mom had to pay them thousands of dollars for them to actually like release them. I don't remember the exact number, but like, this tells you how fucked up the system is in Iran.
Well, thank you for letting me ask that, and thanks for sharing.
Elijah, if
Hi, I
I'm
just
very
want to.
happy. What before you guys move forward, Elijah, I'm very happy you're here, and I'm very happy that you're asking questions because we want people who are non-Persians to become familiar with what's happening inside Iran, what's happening with these human rights violations. So I want you to participate more, and I want you to be the voice or the questions that brings out the truth as to what's happening within the regime, within the country. And your questions are everyone's question who is becoming familiar with this topic, with the situation. So please feel free to come in at any time and ask crucial questions, because I know you're an activist and it's very important for you to be here and be the voice of the non-Persians who have no idea what's happening. So thank you for being here. Feel free to jump in anytime.
I, I,
Thank you,
ju-
Farsha.
I just would like to talk to Shadi direct because she finished saying she was abused. She was abused as a child. We have to embrace that scared little girl that's still inside her and acknowledge that statement as well. Shadi, we're also here for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just want to like raise my voice because I know many women are suffering, and they don't have a voice because they don't even have the bare minimum. There is no basic human rights in Iran. And it's funny because I just like found out today that Iran is one of the countries that actually has a say in United Nations when it comes down to human rights. Who like what? Like, this needs to cause a big question mark about how like corrupt all these like systems are, and it's about time. Like, it's time for a change.
it is definitely time for a change. You can keep your dollars. We want change. Thank you so much, Shadi. I'm I hear you, and I feel your pain. And thank you for expressing and being so open and vulnerable with the room. I do want to thank Timok for coming up. Timok is, of course, a legendary actor who played the role of Bruce Leroy in Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon, which is a classic movie amongst being a world champion martial artist. I do want to also thank Jay and Stevie for being in the room, who are on the management team of Drake and Doja Cat. So thank you so much for you two also being in the room with us. Hopefully, you'll pass this information along to your artists and give more eyes and visibility to what's going on in the world. I also want to thank. I want to thank Kay, if you're still here, if you would like to come up. I know that you're a big speaker and have a huge lobby group in regards to women's rights, and we would love to hear more from you on an American perspective in regards to women and women's rights, especially speaking on behalf of your lobby that raises awareness in regards to women's rights across the world and is one of the top 10 lobbies on Capitol Hill. So thank you so much. Would anyone else like to speak up in regards?
I
I'd
just
like
wanted
to
to piggy
speak.
bank a little bit, if that's okay.
Ariana
Um,
Afshar, the floor is yours.
yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for the warm welcome, Tehran. I appreciate it. I was born and raised in America, but I lived in Iran for a year when I was 12. Um, Sorry, I have never spoken about this experience publicly up until yesterday, but it was the most traumatic year of my life. I still experience depression from that year. I still have post traumatic stress from that year. I was arrested by the morality police. Luckily, I was a fluent English speaker, and so when they found out that I was actually American or American born, they let me go. So, fortunately, I did not have the same faith that Massa and many other women have. I came back to America when I was in ninth grade, and this is a trigger warning, I was completely suicidal. My father had to take me to therapy for almost 10 years, and I still experience the depression that I experience from time to time is still from the brutal things that I saw from that year that I lived in Iran. And I just want to say that I know we were talking about whether, what happened to her and the granular detail, but in my opinion, that doesn't matter because if it's not Massa, it was hundreds and thousands of other people that were brutally murdered or beaten or sexually assaulted by the morality police. It is a regular occurrence. And it is to the point where the people do not have the power or they do not have the system to be able to speak out against it. And so they have been oppressed for so many years. They don't have the means, they don't have the access. And the minute that the world starts to know what's going on, they get completely cut off. I felt incredibly lonely the year that I lived there. I have never experienced anything like that in my life, and I don't wish it upon my worst enemy. So I wanted to thank the 1.8 people, the 1,800 people that are in this room right now. Your participation means the world to us, and not just us. I am privileged enough to sit in my room in California and speak about this on Clubhouse. I am not one of the people that is in the streets getting hit, beat, assaulted, sexually assaulted by the terrible regime that is in place in Iran. I chose to speak I chose to speak up about this yesterday because I noticed that if I can't be a social activist or claim that I'm a social activist if I'm not speaking up for my own people. And so that may it may mean that I can never go back to see my country. It may mean that the country's regime will never accept me or my passport again, even though I'm a dual citizen. That doesn't matter because our voice right now is so important, and I can't emphasize this enough. If what I went through in a year, if it put that kind of an impact on me, you can only imagine what years and decades of that kind of a regime, and how that can impact people. So I just really wanted to thank every single one of you in this room. Please continue to amplify Iranian people's voices, the people who are out there who are filming, who are brave enough to even film. Most of the time when we went out to protest the year that I lived there, we wouldn't even take our phones because they're easily trackable. The government tracks everything, and they will find you and they will murder you. You will end up in a ditch in 2 years. That was a very common theme. It was very common for the corner store owners to be IRGC agents that pretty much kept tabs on everybody in the streets. People live in constant 24/7 fear, 24/7 hour. I mean, there is not a second in your day where you live in Iran and you're not looking behind you, or you're not worried about who is actually on your side and who is with this oppressive regime. You just don't know. I was classmates with a girl. Her uncle left his wallet in her grandma's house, and they looked through the wallet and they found out that he was an IRGC agent. Nobody knew. He literally owned a corner store on the side of the street. So I just want to end this by saying that every single person in Iran, they have adapted, they have learned how to live with this, but that does not mean that they deserve it. They don't deserve it. And we in America, we are the ones that have the voice. We are the ones that have the platform. We are the ones that have the reach to be able to tell people, the masses. And right now, up until now, the Iranian people have been speaking into a tunnel because nobody listens to us. This is the first time that I've ever seen people who are not Iranian actually listening to us, sharing our story, and sharing the brutal atrocities that the Iranian people are going through. So please, if you are Iranian or if you're not, it doesn't matter whether her CT scans were true or not. It doesn't matter, because if it's not Massa, it's hundreds and thousands of other women that have had that same faith. So with that being said, Tehran, thank you for holding this room. And I implore each and every one of you to please use your social media, your platform, and please don't let the Iranian people's voices die. Thank you.
Ariana, what can we do to help?
At this point in time, I would say just continuing to amplify our voices. There's many brave Iranian people who are going to these protests and filming. They are quite literally risking their lives and ending up in a ditch by next week, just even filming these videos and sending it out. So if you guys could just continue sharing these videos, continue talking about it. Every single thing, every single news event has a news cycle, right? And so eventually, the American people, the nation is going to want to move on from this, but this isn't an issue where we can move on from it, to be quite honest with you. And that might be selfish for me to say, because I've gone through very traumatic personal experiences, but this is something that has been going on for decades in Iran, and it will continue to go on because it's not going to be an overnight fix. And so if you continue to join, even you being in this room right now is really important to every single Iranian, not just inside Iran, but outside of Iran as well. Continuing to amplify our voices, joining rooms like this, sharing videos, talking about it, keeping Masa Amini's hashtag relevant. Those are all incredibly important things. As of right now, in my mind, that is the best thing that you can do for us, unless somebody else has a better idea. But for now, that is what I've seen work the best.
Do you know if they're having a hard time? There was someone on earlier, I was in another room, and she was like, I don't know how long it's going to take before they disconnect me. She was in Iran. So do you know if the Iranians are able to get on here and talk to us and let us know what's going on, or do they cut off everything over there? This is Tamara T speaking.
From my understanding, I could be wrong, but from my understanding, they have cut off most of the internet. Now people are accessing social media and different. There is a small group of people that are accessing through VPN, or they're able to somehow access it. But any person that I've had contact with, it stopped yesterday. So I used to get raw footage being sent to me from Iran. I continuously posted it on TikTok. My TikTok page is on its last legs right now, but I quite frankly don't really care. But from my understanding, every single person that was sending me footage stopped sending it to me late yesterday. So I'm sure there's a small outlier of people that have access to internet, but from my understanding, the majority has lost access.
I can
Yeah,
give some
I've lost.
information on that. This morning, I had the English room on the same subject. and I have a friend in Iran. She always active, and I was trying to get her under in the room, and eventually she was able to answer me. She said this morning when she woke up, the whole internet was 10 times worse. Was hearing helicopters as well, and also said she tried 40 VPNs before she was even able to, respond to me. And another friend who has been in the streets, and I haven't heard from him since yesterday. I'm sure he's okay, but I hope so. But I just know that, and today's was in the news that in English news in the U.S. that Instagram and WhatsApp are now blocked as well. They're trying to get around it. And last thing, Elon Musk 3 days ago said he's gonna wants the U.S. administration to kind of help out and avoiding the sanctions, so it can provide through the SpaceX the internet to Iran. And Treasury Department has said it's clear. We work with you, and some U.S. House representatives have asked the Treasury Department to speed up and reduce the bureaucracy to help Elon to get internet to people. There's more complications. I don't want to take the room's time, but there should be receivers, etc. there. But we're trying to do that. Whenever the internet is cut off, from our experience, that means that there's going to be a bloodshed, and that's the first sign. We're worried.
Yeah, I have had the same experience. I can't get in touch with anybody there at all since yesterday, actually. It started getting very, very slow the couple of days before that. But then my friend could still get to me via cell service, but that must be gone now too, because I have not gotten any messages for more than 24 hours. And it's very scary. Like the person just said, it means that something bad is happening there. There's reports of people, other people being killed and stuff like that. It's really, really sad. It's frightening, and I can't imagine what it feels like for the people who are actually there.
Let me give everybody, if you don't mind, some tangible things we can do as Iranians outside, and even for your friends, wherever they're from, if they care about justice and they care about women's rights. There's been a lot of actions going on. You guys are seeing that hashtag Mahsa Amini has taken just the internet by storm. It's one of the most, I heard on Twitter it was actually the top trending ever hashtag. It's going on everywhere. But let me tell you what another thing that's happening, and I really think if you guys can help us here take this petition to another level, would be great. It's a petition that has been written um, to just get the word out, and also get the international community to pay attention to this, especially the United Nations. You guys know that the president of Islamic Republic, who is known as Ayatollah of Death, because he has personally presided over so many executions of activists over the years, is here in New York. So it's important that while he's standing at that podium and pouring out lies, 21 people have been killed on the streets simply because they're asking for what is right and what is just. So I would like to send this petition to Shayestin. If she can pin it up there. I just ask all of you to just read it. It's simply explaining what happened to Masa and what's regularly happened in Iran. She's not the first. We're glad that her name is being repeated everywhere. And we also want the international community to pay attention. Let me tell you something else that is ridiculous. Last March, Iran was voted to be on the United Nations Commission on Women's Rights. This is not a joke. It's reality. This is, ladies, a slap to every woman in the world, not just Iranian women, because they're saying that Iranian government, the present government, Islamic Republic, is qualified to sit there and be the advocate for women's rights. If this is not something out of a parallel world, but is just a joke, I don't know what it is. So we need to tell UN the time for backroom handshakes and making deals and trying to make nice is over. I'm just going to send this to Shayest and ask it, pin it up there if you could, please. We can take every signature we can. If you share it in your social media, I would be very grateful for your help. Thank you so much. Shayest, I'm going to send this to you, and if the people in the room allow it, I'd really appreciate it.
Simon, I did talk about the petition with Tehran, and I sent it to him. He wants just first to read it and know more about it, and then once he give us the green light, I will go ahead and do that. But
Absolutely, I understand.
yeah,
And then if he has any questions, I'd be more than happy in the back channel to respond about the content. And no problem. Sure.
thank you, thank you.
And if anybody
There's
is interested,
another.
I can send it to you directly.
You brought up actually, Simon. Thank you for sharing, and you brought up a very good point. Now, my struggle today, throughout hearing, a lot of, I guess, like oppositions and also people that are agreeing with the content of the petition and whether or not Iran needs to be in the sense of having a seat with the UN for the support of women's rights and whatnot. There are a lot of argument or I guess thoughts that are going in the background, and I really like to exercise this to actually hear, including myself, sort of say that I think that Iran should stay on that stage, and the reason that I'm saying is because that is when we can hold them accountable. When they're missing around the table, there's nobody else to discuss what needs to be discussed. When they're not there, we cannot hold them, put pressure, hold them accountable, put pressure on them.
You can't put a
Ask.
murderer, Parisa,
No, it's not
to
for their
have a.
support. When you have nothing to show, you cannot be the role model of anything. So it's not the reason that I'm there, but which it was a shock to me as well. But then I began to think about it because I'm thinking, what if it's not there? What if they're not there? Then what? Then it's just another subject that is just passed on to that table of whoever is sitting
But we
on.
need to ask, what is the reason for that commission? The reason for that commission is countries who are going to promote women's rights and are supposed to hold other countries accountable. It's like putting a corrupt person as a judge. So you may want to justify it in your mind
No,
somehow,
you're absolutely
but
right. But
but
that's the
this is, to
commission
me, it's
for?
outrageous. They are part of UN. We're not kicking them out of the world, but
No,
for
that's not
them
what
to be a
I'm saying. I'm just
judge for
saying
human rights is absolutely an atrocity. I mean, it's just a travesty. It's a travesty of justice,
what you're
any which way you
saying
look
is
at it.
absolutely correct, and I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is you're asking what is the reason behind them or this committee to actually be there. If it's actually the advocacy of human right, if it's the advocacy of women's rights, I do agree with you. But is that really the sole reason that they would have? That is the question that I would like to exercise again. As I said, it is not to prove a point, to force the point of anyone. It's again, this room is to raise awareness. It's to exercise our minds to be able to think outside of the box, think of other ways that we can present different scenarios to the world and whether or not if something is working or not. And this is my main point of, I guess, interest on this, to just be able to exercise this and hear everybody and to see how that is. Because my counter argument on that would be, okay, let's say that they're not. What else has been done to other societies, committees, and communities when these people in general, okay, like think about it globally, people in general that are suppressed under a certain regime, that are just not there to present themselves because they're just hidden under the rug, sort of thing. It hasn't really become a situation where they can really be embarrassed, if anything, to say, okay,
Ex-
you're here, you're advocating a certain point, but what do you have to show for yourself? So even if it's a sort of a shaming them in that sense to be able to have anything done, I'm still saying that, okay, it might be a good point to exercise that, to again ask ourselves, is that really a way or not? Again, this is just a very, amicable conversation that I'm trying to bring up to the surface. And hopefully we will be able to discuss it with a sort of a very positive point of, bringing different thoughts, different areas, different people from different perspectives, from different sides of the world to exercise this. So that's really mainly.
Excuse me, Paris Simon. Could you please, you guys play like ping pong game? Could you please allow us a different kind of opinion perspective? We are all are Iranian too. We can express our opinion if you guys
Absolutely.
don't mind.
We're not really
Okay.
doing a ping
I'm
pong. We're
silent.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ted, it is
Thank you.
not a ping
He-
pong. It's definitely not a ping pong conversation here. And
Thank
I was
you. God
monitoring
bless
up
all
to
of you
this
guys.
point. I
Thank
was
you. Thank you.
monitoring the chat, and now I was requested to actually get involved more in the talks. And throughout the day and throughout the days that we were here, we were discussing everything in the news. And it's not, a good discussion. I believe it's something that we can hear different point of views. We can hear different sides of the story. We can hear different beliefs, and it's just not one way. And that's how we're progressing. That's how
Okay.
we'll be able to change something. So if you have something,
Tha-
I would like you actually to take a minute. If you like, you can share that. We
I
would be
yeah.
to hear.
I am so grateful for all of you guys. Uh, do you guys are all familiar, I'm sure some of you guys, with the theory of intersectionalism? This means if a country or government cannot be able to solve their ethnicity, their gender, LGBT, and class problem, which is in Iran is very, very large, if you cannot consider that society having a civil society. This woman who passed away, she was a Kurdish community. She's coming from Kurdistan. There are about 50 million of them in Iran. Within Iran, they are not able to speak or write their own language. I am from Turkish community, Azerbaijan. We are about 30 million. If you want to listen Paris a different perspective, here you go. We are about 30 million. Right now, our Azerbaijani people are fighting because of the national, the Hawaiian, the new identity that born in Iran. Everybody, Kurdish, Arabic, Loris, Baluchi, they want their share of power and wealth. All the money that comes from oil divided among Persians, a few states, and poor Baluchi, poor Arab, poor Kurdish people, they are starving. Not on the top of that, they are not allowed to speak one word, to write one word. I'm from Azerbaijan. We speak Turkish language. This should be a different perspective because media, Persian networks outside of here is very strong, very strong. They try to manipulate. We do respect women. We know they are struggling. So as Azerbaijani, we brought, if any of Iranian who lives in the room, they know Azerbaijan is center of all movement in Iran against all government. We are 30 million Azerbaijani. We are not able to read, write our own language. Now, these movements, they all try the media to kind of um, relate or associated with poverty or women that they are trying to bring the system down. Probably one another puppet government of United States. We want anyone not former king in Iran. Yeah, we can have a republic government, non-religious republic, secular government, and we do need a federalism in Iran. Only way going forward, Azerbaijani, Kurdish people, Arabic people, Lord Baluchi would accept to be a part of Iran means only we need to have a federal system within form of Iran. We can have and develop our own language,
Excuse me, sir.
literature.
Excuse me
That's
to interrupt you.
yeah.
This room is not about
Wrong.
Hi,
politics. It's
Manoj.
not about separation. And we are all Iranian. We are outside Iran. We are trying to be the voice of Iranian people. And I don't think this is a stage to talk about this subject and your opinion or
Nobody
your
claimed here I'm
desire.
a separatist. I am as
Please,
Iranian
please,
as
please
you are,
do not
and I have
Everybody,
that
let's
right
let the
hijack.
too.
All right.
moderators moderate. Let's let the moderators moderate. And on top of that, I appreciate your opinion. Mr. Ted, I was going to allow you to finish your thought. And then I was going to express that this room is in direct relations to the Massa Amini murder, what's going on with Massa Amini, and why people should care in regards. I really respect your opinions, and I appreciate the
Thank
fact
you.
that you're so
And by the way,
passionate
she's
and
from Kurdish
understand
area.
and
She's from
the I
Kurdistan.
I
It
understand
Should be
doesn't
safe.
matter, Ted.
He's
It
and
Iranian.
doesn't
we're
matter.
all
She was Iranian.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
Ted,
does.
it does matter.
Thank you.
It does matter, and we appreciate and your opinion matters. But in this regards, what we are going to try to do is something that means and matters even more. We're going to discuss unity as opposed to division. We're going to discuss how we can work together to make things happen for each other, because that passion should lean towards communication, and when you add communication and passion, you get that compassion that each and every one of our hearts truly desire, and what each and every single person in Iran, no matter which ethnicity they come from, they all individually deserve. So thank you so much for your
Thank
opinion.
you so
I
much. Thank you so
appreciate you
much.
for
I'm so
speaking up.
grateful to all of you guys. I'm so grateful to
Thank you,
all of you
Ted.
guys. But based on my understanding, as long as Persian chauvinism, fascism in Iran exists, there would be
I
no one Iran.
I
Thank you
appreciate
and
you so
have
much,
a
Ted.
good day. Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank you.
much. I appreciate your discussion. For everyone who's new to the room, welcome to the hashtag Masa Amini room, in which we are discussing what's going on currently in Iran and why you, the rhetorical you, meaning each and every one of us, should care. What is so relevant in Iran right now that the rest of the world should even pay attention? We are discussing the facts. We're discussing our own personal experiences. We're discussing women's rights. We're discussing basic human rights. And we're discussing an oppression regime that in Iran, regardless of political values or views or religious values or views, we're discussing it as a morality and ethical, unethical situation, as opposed to looking at it from a political view. This is about people, as all of humanity should be. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people in the world, but there's not a lot of humanity left. And the one thing that's important is realizing the awareness that comes with actually caring, because caring is sharing, and we each need to share this with people who are outside or not Iranian or not Persian language speakers, because the entire world's eyes need to be valued on Iran. And there's a Persian saying that's very old, and it says کسی که خواب هست میشه بیدار کرد و کسی که خودشو میزنه به خواب هیچ وقت بیدار نمیشه, which means a person who's asleep can be woken up, but a person who pretends to be asleep can never be woken. It is time for the world to wake up. It is time for the world to stop pretending to be asleep to the atrocities and oppressions of what is going on in Iran in regards to inequality and injustice. This is a movement. Welcome to the hashtag Masa Amini room. Who would like to speak next?
Tehran, if I may, first of all, I want to step up and thank Tehran. This room came about, excuse me, this room came about in just a few minutes when we talked about the idea, and Tehran jumped on it and he made it happen. I am so grateful, and We've been around, I think, for a little over an hour, and we've had 2,300 people go through this room. And I think just in the hour or so, we have accomplished a lot. And
2.5 hours, Ali. 2.5 hours.
is it? Wow, time flies. Wow. Well, I've been enjoying the conversation, and the only thing that's bothering me right now is 2,300 people, but we only have 200 shares. So please share the room as much as you can and invite your friends. Let's get the message out there. And second, I really, really, really appreciate, and I want to thank the ladies, Ariana, Shadi, and the rest of the ladies that came out and shared their experiences with us. It takes a lot of courage to come out and share the experience you've had in your life that impacted you long term in your lifetime impact. And I am sorry as an Iranian, even though I'm Iranian American, I live here, but I am sorry that you had to go through that. And I'm sorry for all the ladies who had to go through that in the past 40 years. It's not just the past few days, in the past 40 years in Iran. And the goal is that we get the message out there. So hopefully we can stop that. As I can, anything that I find as that helps the awareness, I'm finding links and I'm posting them up there in the room. I'm pinning the link. So please use them. Please share them. There's a lot of mentions of Mahsa going around on Twitter and other social media. Please help them. Some people ask, how can we help? Please get the message out there. We're trying to, this is a small community in Clubhouse. We're trying to get the message out there as much as we can. You can use every social media that you have and get the message out there. And on top of that, those of you who are in the US at least, you can write the letter, you can write an email to your congressmen and women and senators and ask them to condemn what's happening in Iran right now. Mahsa was the first person who died a few days ago, but after her, there's hundreds and hundreds of young people, girls and boys, men and women, that are being killed on the streets, and no one in the media in the Western world is talking about it. The message is just coming out today, as we're seeing on Reuters and some of the other channels. Please get the message out there. The internet is cut out. People inside Iran cannot reach outside, and there's very limited connection that's out there right now, and it's up to us to make it happen for them and show support. That's all I had. Thank you.
Ali, I want to speak to the internet connection issue. This is Iram. 3 days ago, Elon Musk kind of filed a petition to remove sanctions so the satellite internet services could be provided in Iran. Of course, that's a problem because there are sanctions in place. So, what we can do, all of us, is call our local representative and kind of pressurize them or encourage them to get that petition approved so the internet services through the satellite can be provided. It's crucial, just like in Ukraine, the satellites were able to connect people, and very important, it was very important to get people's voices out, because if the internet connection is in place, then people at least have the connection to outside world. They can share their stories, they can share the reality and the truth, and also it garners hope. It provides them hope when they listen and connect to people all around the world who are supportive of them, and whatever is happening inside, like that oppression, doesn't make them feel alone and cut off. But if the internet connection is not established, then they may feel disconnected. So all of us can call our government officials for that petition, and also share the hashtag, share this news on your social media, talk to the people, anyone that you know that can influence your local politicians, and also raise funds. There are some fundraising, and there are some government and non-profit organizations who are helping with this. So, and that information is on Google as well. So all of us can take action and be the voice of these people, especially the females who are suffering and being oppressed for so long. Thank you.
Thank you,
Would
Iram.
you
I think
please,
I read
sorry.
that the Treasury Department has already announced that some of the sanctions could be lifted. I read that on Reuters, I believe, this morning, and I just saw a Twitter from Elon Musk just about a few minutes ago saying that the students in Amazon are being connected using Starlink. So I think this is a great solution. It could be provided to Iranians as well.
I also would like to thank Aaron for speaking up and speaking out in regards to this and giving factual information. We are doing our best to get facts in this room. So please, if you have actual facts, try to speak on those. I know a lot of people have stories on stories and people who know people who have people. So, any experts you know, please ping them into the room. Let's have them speak up. Also, I do see that this room is primarily still Iranian, which I completely understand and agree with, but I would love to share these experiences with people outside of Iranian culture and ethnicity. And the reason for that is the more eyes of the world on this situation, the better it can be. It will lead to accountability and transparency. You cannot hide. You cannot hide from the light in the darkness. So let's bring more light into this room. If you can ping your friends, especially people who are of non Iranian descent, bring them in. And of course, bring your Iranian family and friends and cousins and neighbors into this room as well. I would love to have more Iranian women and women of all backgrounds on stage in order to hear from that experience, because this is a human rights issue, it's a women's rights issue. Basically, it's just an issue. It does not matter where you stand politically. This is not about politics. This is not about religion. This is not even about the headdress. It's not about the hijab. It's literally and simply about injustice. And we are speaking on these matters right now. Hashtag Masa Amini, what's going on and why you should care. Thank you, Ali June, for bringing up the point that people should share this if you can. Please share it. Nothing like it costs free 99 to show love and support. That is it. Show that love, show that compassion, show your. In fact, when Aaron brought up the money thing, I've always been, and I'm voicing the opinion of a lot of people, when you send money, it feels like it just goes to the organization. We never feel like, what are you paying for? Am I paying for people to march more in the streets? I don't know. But the one thing we can always show is love. And that love goes a long way. A love, that heart, that being the backbone, knowing that you're not alone, that you don't have to pay a dollar from your bank account. Never mind all these billionaire Iranians, and yet somehow none of our lobby groups get funded. Let's talk about the idea that we can always show support and show love, even when it comes to like Iranian lobby groups. I never trust any of them. Like I don't know who's running them or who they are. But you know what? We each and every one of us know who we are, and we can be the change. The best part is when you want to look at something and you want to know, man, I wish someone would do something about that. Well, that's the best part of life. Look in the mirror. It turns out you are someone. You can do something about that. And the best part about looking in a mirror is that it's not only merely for reflection. When you look in a mirror, it's also for correction. You look in the mirror and your shirt's untucked and your collar's crooked and there's a stain, you tuck in your shirt, you fix that collar, you wipe off that stain and you go. So let's also reflect inward on what we can do. And this is the least help that we can be, is simply being the voice for those who are unheard inside Iran right now.
Tehran, this is Shaiste again. I have invited a person on the stage. Her name is Priyanra, and she is the newest Clubhouse icon. And I want her to share her experience about Mahsa Amini and what she does in her room to support Mahsa. And if you allow her to speak, that will be much appreciated.
I would love to have Priyana speak on her experiences and also if Priyarna could tell me how I can be the clubhouse icon next. But Priyarna, you got this.
Period.
The floor is yours, Priyarna.
Hey, hi, Tehran. Thank you. I have no idea with your second question, but I'm so happy that you opened this room. My love, so much love to my Persian family on Clubhouse. I've been listening to, I'm reading the news and listening, and it's my heart is just it's been a long struggle for the country, and I'm so happy that we have this supportive community. What we've been doing is, those who know of my rooms, like we have these jam sessions, beautiful jam sessions where musicians from all around the world gather and we play music together. So last Tuesday we had a room dedicated to our Persian family on Clubhouse, and we also circulated the petition. We pinned the petition um, on the in the room, and in fact, I wasn't very present. I had a meeting, but everyone, they just ran the room. I don't know if John is here. He led the jam session. It was so beautiful to be there y- when these are the times when we have to bind together and support each other, and we'll moving forward we'll still keep holding these rooms. There are many many Persian friends that I have a really good you know friendship and connection with, and I'm really happy that at least if I can do anything, I'm here. And thank you so much, Shasta, for the shout out. And Taran, much needed room. Thanks for creating, and all the moderators. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna, to be with us today. And it was really emotional room. We held a prayer for Mahsa in that room, and we united with all the languages, with everyone from all around the country. There were, and this is where I am telling everyone we need to speak, because we were almost about 100 people in that room. We were saying that we are here for Iran, and nobody knew why we are here for Iran. And when I start talking about what is happening, everybody start talking about it, googling it, researching it, and everybody was telling each other about it. And this is where we need to speak. We need to just talk about it and let everyone know what is happening. Thank you, Priyana, and thank you, Tehran, for allowing me to speak again.
Thank you.
Hello, Tehran. Can
I
I
also see,
can
Goldberg John, I see you. If you
okay.
can just give me a minute, please. I just wanted to welcome Petro actually here joined us, and I hope that I didn't butcher your name actually. So if you can actually, I know that you were also a face of at the same time. You were also an activist in several other rooms with several global situations that's been going on around the world. Someone's mic is open. I would appreciate if you close the mic, please. So when you're ready, please let us know, and you could
Sarah, close
add
your
to
mic.
any
Sarah.
conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for those kind words. I mean, from one icon to another, I say what Priyana just said is well said, and I've listened into some of her lovely rooms. I do what I can from my end, which is to focus on the policy, and I'm here in DC, and I had a room on here earlier discussing with an Iranian journalist about the situation to understand the latest on the ground. He's I think he's on Clubhouse actually, but he works for Atlantic Council, which is a well-known think tank in policy and international relations. And we had a conversation for about an hour just talking about the situation. These protests are some of the largest that the Iranian the regime has gone up against. What I think is particularly inspiring and empowering is the amount of women who are really taking a lead in this, particularly with removing the hijab.
and the fact that generally it's coming across the country. Most protests that I see often are based predominantly in the main cities, but what I've read from reports and what Bouzeau was telling me was that they're across even some smaller cities and towns, and people are just absolutely outraged for yet another year with this Islamic Republic. What I think is most heinous about it is that the guy has the audacity to then tell the head of CNN to say, well, sorry, I won't do an interview with you because you're not wearing the appropriate clothing. And he's been given visas to the United States to come and talk at the UN General Assembly. Whilst people in the country are struggling with continued electricity, energy crises, generally, ramifications from a lot of global issues. So, I'm certainly there in solidarity with the Iranians, because I don't think that any country should have to deal with such a despotic regime. And for Massa to have lost her life because she simply wasn't dressed, what was it called, immorally wrong, whatever the quotation was, is sickening for me. I'm not Iranian. I've never been to Iran, but I greatly appreciate the communities on Clubhouse, for example, which is why I follow it to the extent that I do. And I don't know. It infuriates me that the greater autonomy isn't given, and that more freedom isn't, given to people to dress or to be as they like. Doesn't mean you necessarily, well, whatever, but like, yeah. So I appreciate the space. Really glad to see so many people in here, listening and being part of the conversation. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you for being here, Piotr. I do have questions in regards to your activism when it comes to Ukraine. You were able to highlight a lot of the discrepancies and also a lot of the social conditions and wartime activities through the vehicle of Clubhouse. Could you give us some of the tips and pointers that you utilized in regards?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got to get people aware, which is what you're doing. You've got to be consistent in terms of what you're doing. So I can give you another example along with the Ukrainian, because when we started the initiative with Ukraine, it was obviously an unfolding situation, and over time it became a self-sustaining initiative. A good example I can give is with Ethiopia. So if you're unaware, there's a ongoing conflict in Ethiopia, and one of the most proactive communities on Clubhouse and on social media are the Tigrayan community, or Tagaru people. They're holding, daily tweets for Tigray, daily engagements, just talking, and people drop in, and I'm different in the sense because it's my work, so I have an actual interest in it, but also, I try and get other friends of mine who are predominantly white to go into these predominantly non-white spaces, because I think it's extremely important for people from different ethnic or racial backgrounds to cross over into these environments. The thing about Ukraine, which I think was a fair one, is that it got a lot of attention because it was the global north. It's, a white predominant country. There was a lot of media focused on it because it's in Europe, it's affecting Europe. So for Iran, a lot of media is very biased against Iran because it's like, oh, nukes, people who want to burn the West or something like that. And it's like a large proportion of the Iranian diaspora are some of the most intellectual I've ever met or engaged with, and so you've got to find a way to bridge that divide and make people who feel uncomfortable still engage with it. So you've got to, hold spaces where people can come in, listen, maybe engage, and that's what we did with certain initiatives, say with Russians and Ukrainians. Right, it's not easy doing this when one country is persecuting another or undertaking essentially a genocide. But you've got to start somewhere, and you've got to hold those difficult situations, and you've got to make it an open space. Safe spaces are important, but I feel that if you try and sugarcoat the severity of what's going on in a country, you do it an injustice, or what's happening in that country an injustice. So holding continual spaces, if you guys want to start a 24/7 room, I mean, that you could do that. I don't think these riots and protests are going to go on that long, but the thing is, much like the power of ideology, protests may fizzle out over time, but conversations on the internet won't. And so, what you can do is use the power of social audio and online community spaces like this to continue that conversation every day. Hold it, even if it's for an hour, even if it's for 2 hours. Hold a space here and get people coming back. You know, you've got a 350 people in here, most of whom I would presume are on the side of what's going on of the Iranian protests, right? So you continue to hold these spaces. You say, right, every day from X to Z, we're going to have this space, and then you begin to bring people in. So that's what I started doing with the Ukraine Sitrep room. I started reaching out to experts that I knew, and I can help you with that if you want. You know, bringing them in to speak to this situation, be it activists, journalists, policymakers, just, you know, Iranian people have themed days. So, you know, one afternoon it's what have the women of Iran achieved in the past 10 years? What have the community of youth done? What are the different ethnic groups doing in different parts of the country, or whatever it is, right? I'm not an intricate expert of Iranian culture. So celebrating sort of the best parts of Iran's culture and history, right? Educating people about the historical context of Iran. What is the actual difference between pre 1979 and post 1979, or something like that? Understanding the differences of Western versus Iranian ideologies or perspectives on international issues, without it getting too nerdy. That's sort of what comes to mind. I hope I didn't bore people to death, but that's sort of where my mind goes to in a proactive sense. Hope that
We
helps.
appreciate you and your support very much. Thank you so much for those uh, tips and ideas on how we can progress in regards to people who are messaging me and with their own separate concerns about systemic problems in Iran as it relates to them and their cause. I just want you to know that this is specifically in regards to Masa Amini, what's going on currently in Iran, and why people should care about that. That does not mean it's not mutually exclusive. That does not mean that people should not care about your cause, whatever that cause is. Causes do not stand in the way of each other. It doesn't mean that I care about this, therefore I cannot care about something else. They are not. Earlier, we heard about intersectionality in a divisive way, but let's use intersectionality in an inclusive way, which is we can care about many different causes and not take away from each or any single one of them. We can care about a multitude of causes. Let's not commingle causes in this specific room. We're not stopping you from opening your own room. We're not stopping you from people joining that room. Some of us may even support that room. That's the difference. When different causes come upon each other, you're trying to specifically stop another cause, which is why there was a concern with All Lives Matter in regards to Black Lives Matter. You were stopping Black Lives Matter by trying to cover it with a different scope or title. In this specific situation, we are discussing hashtag Masa Amini, the murder of Masa Amini, the facts in in respect to the oppression, inequality, and injustice in Iran. We're talking about why the rest of the world should care, including Iranians, but why other people should care, non Iranians, whether they're in the West or the East, the North or the South, it does not matter. Why should this be a global concern and cause? And to do so, we have a lot of people on stage who have personal experience, personal stories, personal tragedy when it comes to the injustices that are handed out by sections and systems in Iran's current climate. This room is not political. This room is not religious. This room is not about hijab, wearing it or not. This room is simply about injustice. It's simply about wrong is wrong. And it's simply about the murder of a 22-year young woman who was brutally beaten to death by a police executive in Iran. So, like any police murder, this is about police brutality. This is about
Tehran.
injustice.
Tehran, it's Elijah. You know what I'm really curious about? One of the things that we've heard tonight as we have heard about this horrific murder of the young lady Masa Amini is the morality police. Can someone unpack what that actually means? And is that the actual name? Is there a different police? Are there. Can somebody speak to that? This is Elijah. I'm done speaking.
They're basically the religious police.
The
If some,
morality police are they were introduced about a year ago, a little bit after a year ago. They're relatively new, and they are essentially what they say on the tin. They go around parts of Iranian civil society, clamping down on the civil liberties of the Iranian population. Basically, just if they don't like what's being worn, think what's happened in Afghanistan. It's different, interpretation of Islam, but the premise is still the same, that basically if women
Oh,
aren't dressing in a certain way, they will be punished, normally through beatings. The Masha was
wait, 1 second, because Ariana mentioned earlier about her experience with the morality
Yeah,
police existing longer than a year
sorry.
ago.
I'm gonna jump in real quick. The morality police have been a thing for a very long time. So maybe by definition they started, I don't know, maybe we start calling them morality police a year ago, but they have been policing what women wear in Iran for many, many years now. This
Yes,
is not
that's
something that
Since
true.
started a year ago.
1990.
That's true.
They've,
It's a very old thing.
it's
It's
been
not
since
new. So
1990,
a
guys.
lot of misinformation shared here. And also,
Yes.
the religious issue is one thing, but the control over women's autonomy or the decision what they wear, what they want to study, how they want to live their life is a very old tradition over there, especially people think it's their kind of right that they can tell females what they want to wear, where they want to
Iran,
work. So,
actually, let me correct that. It's not a really old idea. In fact, that's one of the misconceptions when it comes to the Middle East, specifically in regards to Iran. In Farsi, Persian language, we don't even have pronouns. So progressive, there is no he or she. There's me, there's you, there's us, there's them, but there is no pronoun because originally in Iran, there was no difference between men and women. Women were landowners, voters, powerful people, generals. In the Shahnameh, which is the Iranian version of the Iliad and Odyssey, every single woman is named. In the Iliad and the Odyssey, the Greek epics, only four women are named: Athena, Aphrodite, Helen, and the Queen of Troy. But the Iranians didn't even know not to name women. We get these amazing names, ancient names of women from that specific story. It's an interesting concept that comes much later generationally. It is why traditionally Iranian women are so strong and the heart of that nation. Iranian women have been leaders. In fact, in Judaism, Purim is the celebration of Esther, an Iranian queen who is of Jewish descent, who saves her people, because that is how that works. In 1001 Arabian Nights, the kidnapped Shahrazad, who is an Iranian woman, is clever enough to tell the stories because that would be a characteristic of an Iranian woman. It's a specific distinction that needs to be made. It's something that's unfortunate and it's disreputable and disgusting that women are treated in this manner for this part of the history. And it's something that needs to be rectified within the people, for the people, and by the people.
So we are considering this to be somewhat of a new phenomenon based on the entirety of the entire history of Iran or Persia, meaning a few, like several decades old or multiple
In the
decades old.
5,000 years of Iranian history, this has become, of course, this is all just a blink of an eye, but the Islamic Republic is not it's not that oppression didn't exist before. It's that this went step backwards in the way. Once again, not in a political way. I do not. I'm not bringing up any type of Islamic revolution as its own. However, if you really think about it, the Islamic revolution was just as much a revolution of women's oppression as it was of religion, because that's who was affected significantly and exponentially more by the regime. But this is simply a slippery slope of all the other problems that exist systemically within Iran and its government as its attitudes towards the people of Iran. Iran is in pain, and that pain was then authenticated and validated by the brutal beating of a 22-year young woman on her travels to Tehran, which is my namesake, as she was beaten by the quote unquote morality police, in which there is no morality in any police officer or otherwise who beats a young woman to death, especially over such a minor infraction as the wearing of a head garb and its misplacement.
Okay, and so to now my understanding, and also trying to help to catch other people up. So she had the hijab on her head, but it was not placed properly. Is this what we're to understand?
Can I give you a clear picture of the situation of women in Iran, because I just came here like 5 years ago, and
Yes,
I
but could we
okay,
just hear that? I just want to get before we get. I just want to get clarity for those who are just getting fresh on the
like
story.
the scarves. There is something like a fabric that you should put on your. You have to put that on your head, but most women in Iran, they don't want that on their head. They don't want it,
But
and
is
they
it
have to put
required
it on
by
their head. But
is it
if your
required by
head,
law or religion or It both? it
It is
but
Elijah.
by
By the
law
system.
and religion. But if you are religious, you will do it. But if you are not religious, you don't want it, but you have to because it's a law.
And
Like it's a
Elijah,
mandatory
it's
hijab.
constantly changing. Like the parameters of where it can be on your head is like constantly changing. Like one minute it'll
Mm.
be like, your bangs can be showing, and then it's like, okay, it can be further back. No, now it needs to. And it's constantly changing what is allowed and how far back is the hijab allowed to go.
Now,
There's
what
I
about makeup
I
and
went to
other
Iran.
adornments?
yeah, if your lipstick is too bright, if you have like red lipstick, too much color in the lipstick, that can get you in trouble as well.
Thank
with
Your
the
you.
arms and
excuse
legs
of
cannot
being
show.
with the
Tehran,
excuse
can
of
I?
being oh my
Yeah,
god.
Tehran, can I clarify something? Tehran,
Just state your
Yeah,
name,
and
please.
uh,
Yes,
my
n-
name.
Mehdi.
just 1 minute, Tehran said, I was responding to the morality police comment made that it's 1 year old. By old means it's not 1 year old, it's been there for several years.
Yeah,
And
I was using the term morality piece is about 1 year old. I wasn't talking about the enforcement of the law.
okay, and Tehran, another thing about the history of these amazing, very brave women who led in Persian history, not only in Iran and that region. Uh, these females have history of ruling in parts of India as well. They ruled for several generation after generation, led an entire kind of nation under their uh, reign in 1700s and 1800s for hundreds of years. So and during that time period there was no such thing as this covering or oppression, and they also led very with wisdom and with justice, and promoted education for females, and females were allowed to do everything. So I was making that distinction that under these oppressive regimes, those females who were not only leading the entire nations were restricted in terms of where they get education or what kind of work they could do. So this regime or the oppression relatively kind of strip that kind of right from these females, which is kind of happening for several years now.
And we understand now that the goalpost that Selah mentioned has also been moving. I'll throw to Tehran because it's your room, and we're
And
here for
if I,
Masa Amini.
Let I would like
Ron,
to
if I could jump in after you.
of course, I would like to rectify something. Thank you so much for joining us, Mitra. I wasn't sure if you were actually present. I know you're always everlasting busy.
Mitra.
I would like to
Hi.
just rectify something that Elijah said and correct. It's actually something that I'm extremely uh, against. This isn't my room. This is our room. This is for every single person who's here. This is for every single person that's not. Thank you so much, Elijah Joy, because I know you love giving me credit, but I always give credit
Because
where
you
credit
did
is
that
due.
today, and you doing it.
I'm simply I'm simply doing the least amount of effort to help a group of people that I am genetically, culturally, ethnically, and most importantly, passionately tied to. And the least I can do is simply be that voice as each and every one of us can be. So please, right now, please add and share this room and just invite three of your friends. I suggest two be non-Iranian. All the Iranians know about this. Let's get non-Iranians eyes on it because accountability and transparency leads to responsibility. Mitra, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tehran. And I did want to say, first of all, one of the reasons I am in this room, obviously, beyond the topic, is because you are moderating. I always hesitate to come in these big rooms that have the potential to become contentious or political. And so because you're moderating, I'm here and I know that the conversation is going to stay on track and you've been doing an excellent job. It's for everyone who's not moderating. It's hard to bring people back when they're kind of derailing. So I appreciate that. I also want to appreciate you, Elijah, because you are always asking questions, wanting to learn. You are asking questions that are important questions that sometimes even I don't have a straight answer to because I don't live in Iran. I've never been there. My parents escaped, during the revolution. I'm a Baha'i, so I grew up
Oh,
knowing
wow.
all these stories and with family members who have been murdered and continue to be murdered and imprisoned for no reason other than having a different faith. I know that everyone who really grew up kind of the diaspora who grew up in other countries, we feel very connected to our culture, but we don't really always know everything that's going on, and especially for those of us who can't go back or have never been. um, I have been, and I've been quiet, Tehran, for a reason, because um, over the years my sentiment has been that this is a country that is not the country that I was raised learning about. The stories that my families tell, a lot of times, I don't know if people have probably noticed, in America, Iranians usually refer to themselves as Persian, because we don't want an affiliation with this regime. So Elijah, just to go back to like a really basic point in history, 1979 was a really big year for Iranians because there was a big revolution. The Shah was overthrown, and the Islamic and Iran became the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is where these laws come from. And I have to say, just so everyone's aware, this is not Islam. This is fanatics who have taken over and have taken power and have created their own thing in order to stay in power. And so these things have been going on forever. I don't know if about them specifically the morality police. Obviously, the information coming out has always been limited. So I don't know if that's a new thing or an old thing, but I know that practice has existed for decades, in varying degrees. And so I just want to encourage anyone who has these basic questions, whether you're Iranian or not. I'd like to encourage that discourse because there.
Yeah, I mean, I even have a lot of questions. Tehran, every time you open your mouth and you're like talking about something in Iranian history, I'm just like, I'm full Persian, you're half, and you're always putting me to shame. But but I think that that's an important part of the conversation is understanding that history. But I will say that I'm feeling a great sense of hopelessness because just from a, you know, everyone's always had hopes about going back to Iran. Everyone's always had hopes about the circumstances changes. But I'm just feeling like the reality is that you have a population who has been oppressed and does not have the power to make change. And this going out into the streets results in bloodshed every time. This isn't the first time this has happened. um, this is a government that that really is a military, has a strong military, has spent at least the last 40 years building their military. The US is not going to be involved. As a Baha'i, we have been writing to our congressman for the past 40 years. We have been doing all of the activism, and it's not really doing anything. So that's just, I don't want to like bring that energy necessarily, but I am specifically feeling hopeless. And if anyone is in a position of really seeing a way to do something other than, I mean, I don't know, everyone's always like write your representatives, and I'm just like, I don't know that that works. um but I would love to also take the conversation there if people have thoughts about it. Definitely the awareness, I think, has been really powerful this time around. I think that's a really powerful thing, and hopefully that has some impact. But the fact that people are becoming aware of this situation for the first time, like, this has been going on for decades, guys. Like, this has been happening in our country for decades, and the fact that people are hearing about it for the first time is it's a good thing. So yeah, so Elijah, I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you for just like rewinding us for a moment, because there are people in this room who may not understand the history. So that's all I really have to say about it. Thanks for letting me speak.
Great
Tehran,
share.
Thank you
Great
so
share.
much,
Tehran,
Mitra. I appreciate your words. Who's speaking? If
Tehran.
people could start announcing their names
Yeah,
first,
this is
please.
Mehdi. This is Mehdi.
Hi, Nick.
I just
Yes, sir.
wanted to, how are you? I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. Of course, teaching in the universities in the United States, and my field, of course, is Middle East, and I studied Iran very closely. Uh, there is nothing Islamic about covering. There are two regimes in the world at the moment that are sensitive to the covering. One is, of course, the regime in Afghanistan, Taliban, and the other one in Iran. There is, if you look at, the Muslim women, I'm sorry, in India, in Pakistan, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in other parts of the world, you see a lot of women, they do not have covering.
In
Saudi
There,
Turkey.
Arabia. Saudi
yeah,
Arabia.
Saudi
Saudi
Arabia,
Arabia recently
absolutely,
changed their politics.
yes.
Recently, I
You're
was there 2 years ago, and I was there for the summer, and they specifically had a thing. The women weren't covered, which I was very shocked by.
yeah,
The
yeah.
new
They,
prince is
they had
trying to
the,
change things in his
they had the
oppression.
Tehran, they had the religious police too until a few years ago in Saudi Arabia, and they of course disbanded that police. But let me tell you this: in any religion, even if you go to Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, other religions, you have different reading of religion. If you look at, for example, the religious right in the West at the moment, the backbone of the Republican Party, what the interpretation of the Christianity is. Then the mainstream religion in every religion is something that you stay in the middle. You read the text wisely. You open your mind. But if you are not, of course, in that line of thinking, then you overall there is an authoritarian understanding of any religion in the world, and these guys are the same. The brutality that, for example, Taliban is imposing on that society, or the Iranian regime is imposing on the Iranian society, is just phenomenal. you have to look at it and see how these guys are running the Iranian society at the moment. And this is not the first time that somebody under the religious police or in the prisons in Iran is losing his life. This is not the first time, men and women. Then overall, it's a brutal regime justifying his own action based on a very specific authoritarian reading of religion, and that is what you see. That is what you see. I'm so sorry. Just wanted to clarify a couple of points.
Please never apologize for bringing knowledge to a room, because when you know better, you do better. And thank you for allowing all of us to know better.
Sorry, sorry. Can you give me 2 minutes?
Um,
Hello,
also,
Hamid. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Sorry, just want to
I
interrupt.
am.
Could you
I
please
have
remove
been.
Parsa from the room, please? Or from the chat?
Sorry.
Could you
I
please remove Parsa?
who there's a Parsa. I don't.
Yeah,
I haven't
Agreed,
looked at the
do
chat.
100%.
you?
Please remove him.
Yeah.
So, so I think there is some misunderstanding here. As a high school teacher in Iran, last 30 years, during this 43 years of Ayatollah's rules in Iran, we have a religion, Shiite, Shiite cult like North Korea. Islam has become a weapon. All judicial Islam, political Islam, economic, everything has been a weapon like hijab against people. So, what I want to talk about is just this thing. If I were one of you non Iranians listening to me tonight, we'll talk to my senator, representative, or I live in Canada, or he'll say member of legislative assembly to talk to them to advise them not to give a president of Iran, a murderer in chief, Ayatollah Raisi, Ibrahim Raisi, who is now talking in the United Nations. He is not our president. He is not our representative. He has murdered in 1986 in 1 week almost a massacre, 4,000 people. All the names have been printed and given to the Amnesty International. What I am talking here, in US, there are some lobbyists who are lobbying for Islamic Republic, and Islamic Republic financing terror groups here in US. Look at the person who attacked Salman Rushdie. In his identification in social media, he had that this terrorist had a picture with Ayatollah Khamenei. So, what I want to talk as a high school teacher, as a 75 person who had been in prison in both Shah and Khomeini regimes, I would like to let you know that now Islamic Republic is financing clandestine terror groups in US. They, the hardliners, Ayatollah, who are the hardliners, talking from Islam and going 1,400 years ago and enforcing those obsolete rules and regulations. So, this is my last point. I would like to urge everybody to talk to their representative and to Joe Biden to be tough on the, the daughters and sons of Ayatollahs who are enjoying the freedom here, and when they are going to their country, imposing death pressure against our people. Thank you for your.
Well said, Hamid.
Tehran,
Thank you,
Tehran,
Hamid.
Tehran. Let me just hold on. Let me just interject. Please, can we just stay on topic? We, let's not divert and go into crazy tangents and things like that. Please, let's stay on the topic. Thank you.
Can I share something?
And I'm sorry, if I may add to what Mazi said, I'm reading the chat, and unfortunately, there are some people that are being disrespectful to other nations and other religions and so forth. That's not why we're here. Please, please, I ask everyone to respect
Yeah,
each other. This is
yeah. This
this,
is an upliftment. This is a room of upliftment and support
yeah.
and solidarity. You know, like
We're all here asking for democracy, for justice. So please don't do the opposite in this room, in this little community that we are gathered here together. Please, I appreciate that. Thank you. Sorry
Precisely.
about the
I
interruption.
was going to say the focus is certainly on the murder of this young woman, yet a
yeah. Stay
person
on
who's
topic.
been through an authoritarian regime, please respect them. They
Yes,
are
and
not
if
crazy
I'm
people.
sorry, but
They've
if
been
I see any,
tortured and
yeah, if I see anyone being disrespectful, unfortunately, we have to remove you from the room because that's not the kind of atmosphere we're looking for here.
Mr.
Yeah,
Musab,
and this is Elijah. I just wanted to say I actually appreciated with what Mr. Hamid brought to the table because I'm looking for larger context as I understand this as someone not a part of the Arab world or someone from Persia or Iran. So
Yeah,
I
but
appreciate.
Elijah.
No, I'm just saying for just for me. I don't have to hear more, and I get the parameters of the room to keep the focus of the room, but I do have to appreciate what the elder brought to the table for context. Thank you.
Elijah, I think the
And
first
that's why
thing
we
people
let
are
him
going to
finish.
say, the first thing people are going to say is Iranians aren't Arabs. They're about to be like Elijah when he said Arab world, everyone's antennas were like, wait, bing, 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 bing.
Listen,
Wait.
I'm in here learning, so I'm just like
We
I'm
love it,
sorry
Elijah.
if I stumble.
Don't.
Forgive me.
It's all a learning curve. That's the thing. It's not a learning curve just for you. It's a learning curve for all of us. That is how the world works. Slow
The
motion is
fact
better
that
than no
to
motion.
understand how women, I was just looking on Twitter just now, and there's a video that I may have shared on Twitter, but I can share it again. But someone showed what life was like before 1979. A little video of women's lives before
But
1979, and but I'm just saying it's very interesting to know this context because you mentioned this earlier. Coming from America, we do see it all as the same thing, and it's not all the same thing.
it's not all the same thing. And I also want to put in context those pictures. Those pictures weren't everybody. There are people who choose to wear the scarf, there are people who don't. That is within the right of an individual person. Also, uh, comparing a world to what looks like success because it's the Western world is also incorrect. So I don't want to advocate for Western civilization as if that's the pinnacle of society as opposed to any other culture. I think every single person should be able to grow and
Oh wait, and
experience pursuit of
No,
happiness on
no,
their own
no,
terms.
Tehran.
Gannicus is mad that a gay is on stage. I just had to say that, and he's vomiting emojis.
Well, he can vomit all the emojis he wants. He can vomit on my emoji. Uh, That's not anything that's going to be the thing. Then you're going to hate learning about the real world, buddy. So, my idea is I just want everyone's right to choose for themselves. I want basic human rights. I want the idea that cultures are beautiful no matter what these cultures are, as long as they have the basic nature of humanity and what humanity is supposed to be within them as well. And that's something that we can never forget. And that's something that unfortunately has been forgotten, as we've seen by the murder of Masa Amini just last week. a 22-year young woman in the streets of Tehran, brutally beaten by the quote unquote morality police in Iran. And her death, whether we've done the autopsy or not, is a direct result of police brutality. And I would say that every single person should be against police brutality. There should be no one that says, yay, police brutality. I don't think that's an idea that should exist. And it's simply the slippery slope of all of the systemic problems and reveal of all of the systemic problems and oppressions and inequalities and injustices in Iran right now. And the more eyes on this specific situation, the better, because you cannot hide from the light, even in the darkness. So
Ron, can
please be
I?
the light.
It's Piotr again. Just 30 seconds, but I think what you're saying is very powerful, and a lot of what has been said. And I just want to offer one more thing before I probably have to sign off. But, I live in DC at the moment, and I was out just having something to drink, and there's a lot of people who are living very lucky and sort of comfortable lifestyles. And I think we live in a world where having difficult conversations or feeling uncomfortable is, really, really frowned upon. So here's a little rally call for everyone. But if you can find an opportunity to talk about it. It's not like you go and target someone randomly in the street, but sort of in the sense of, you know, if people are like, hey, how are you doing today? And you're like, yeah, I'm okay, but there is, I was reading in the news about this terrible thing that's happened in Iran with this young girl. And just make people think a little bit. It doesn't have to be like some heavy-handed sort of thing, but just make people aware that they're lucky enough not to have to worry about this sort of thing. I've done it before, and particularly when the Ukraine war first began. And it's like people initially think you're a weirdo, but if they actually take a moment and listen and reflect on what you're saying, it can get through. And then you never know the trickle down effect that might have as they raise it with other people they know, and just be aware. So that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
I just want to
Uh,
add to. Can I say something?
just
Sure.
wanted to
Who
quickly
is speaking?
say to
It's James
Tehran,
Andrews.
James
Ja-
Anderson, go.
James, please. We would love to hear
Yeah.
what you have to say.
Yeah. No, I just being in this room for 2 hours, despite living in Tehran, I learned more about Iran and the confidence I have to use my power and my influence. I have a massive following, massive influence. Has been really due to all of you sharing in this room. And so, to your point, Tehran, it's just so easy. It doesn't cost you anything to share. But the ability to actually moderate a room or open up a room in my own world here is from this time that's been spent. Thank you I just want to thank you and for all the people who have been sharing. This has been a heart wrenching 2 hours. I've been in tears, I've been in prayers, and I will continue. Thank you.
Tehran, if you're
Thanks,
able,
James.
and
Tehran,
One at a time, please.
Yo,
Mystic.
hold on. James, thank you,
Please.
bro. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us, and I always appreciate you. We all appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
Th- Thank you so much, James. And I would like to say that while your heart is in pain, I want you to also fill it with hope, because this is how hope looks. This is how hope looks. People uniting and getting together. There is a person on stage named Sarah. If Sarah is Sarah wanted to speak up. Sarah is in the queue, and we will be speaking one at a time. So please just raise your hands in the queue. If Sarah is on stage, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that for me, I have a American boyfriend, and most of the time I have to explain to him what's the difference between these countries in Middle East. Like most American don't know what's the difference between Saudi Arabia and Iran and Afghanistan and all those other countries. I don't even know what's the difference, but I know what is in my culture, so I have to explain it. That's why I wanted to like for to non-Iranian friends, I wanted to give them a clear picture of a Iranian woman, what they can do in Iran, what they cannot do. Um, it's they can have these are the things that I think most American doesn't know. Um, Iranian women can have higher education in Iran. They can go to university, except for Baha'is, men or women, they cannot go to university because they are part of minority religions, which I was part of them, and I couldn't go to university. But other women, they can go to university, they can have higher education, they can hold jobs, they can have their own business, they can have like upper management positions. They cannot be judged, they cannot be a president. They don't have right to divorce unless it's under some specific circumstances, maybe 3 or 4. And what else? These are the things that is just in my mind, and I want to share that with you, just in case that somebody doesn't know about it. Thank you. I'm done.
Also, in the time of divorce, it would be exceptionally difficult to hold custody of the children.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Tehran, it's Holly.
Holly,
Yes, go
for
ahead,
those who
honey.
don't know, Holly is my not only a very good friend of mine, but also a Mid East specific expert who has been dedicating her life to the Middle East for the last decade plus. Before you get into the queue, Holly, there is another Sarah that wanted to speak as well. If that Sarah could speak up, if you could speak, Sarah, hello?
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for holding this room. As always, you bring such an incredible crowd of so many different backgrounds, that often gets missed in Clubhouse when we were talking about Persian issues. But the last week has been just heart-wrenching. I grew up in Iran. I lived there for 15 years. I moved when I was 15, obviously. But I remember just in schools, they would tell us that girls and women who didn't have proper hijab and did not cover up and they did not follow Islam, they would get hung up by their hair in hell while getting burned. I was about the age of 13 when I was stopped by morality police and they asked how old I was. I was like, I'm 11. They looked at me and they were like, You don't look 11. And I was like, Well, I am. Meanwhile, they had a group of 5 teenagers behind them that they were taking to those quote unquote re education camps so they could learn about how to properly cover up. The chances of whenever you get stopped by morality police and you get taken to those places, it also has an effect of you getting into colleges in Iran. Meanwhile, 60% of people in colleges and universities in Iran are women. But I also wanted to take a moment to point out that it's not just women who are getting killed by the Iranian government, it's also men, it's also queer people. Um, this government just kills. This government has no mercy. But I do want to say, as much as I have been trying to hold back on being hopeful, um, I can't push it back too much because there is a sense of hope. Obviously, for the past 40 plus years, the Iranian people have protested in many, many different ways, but this time they seem more angry. And the level of protesting that we are seeing today, it hasn't happened before. It has happened very close to it, but that was in 2009. I remember I was a very young child when it was happening, and I was in Iran. But at that time, we didn't have access to social media the way we do today. So that's why it is so particularly important that you uplift their voices, you share their videos, you share the content that is being shared with you. The internet is getting shut down for a few hours every day, and that's the moments that the people are getting killed, the protesters are getting killed. So if you have a following, or if you don't have a following, if you can share that, that would be the best thing that you can do right now because we need an international pressure of the government. We are hearing from the grounds that there are places that they have broken in and people are getting armed. Obviously, we are not 100% sure because we don't have that much access to information. But if you can uplift their voices, that would be literally the best thing you can do. And I appreciate all of you being here, especially the non Iranians who care to take their time to be here. As Iranians, we often feel very alone. And today, I didn't feel that. And I appreciate you. And thank you, Tehran.
Well said. Thank you. It was beautiful.
Today we're discussing hashtag Masa Amini. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being so true, sincere, and vulnerable. As we discuss hashtag Masa Amini, a trending hashtag, but for so many people, a reality, a pain of an entire country. We are discussing what's going on currently in Iran, the state of Iran, and why you should care. And by you, I mean the rhetorical you, which is the you in each and every single one of us, Iranian and non Iranian alike. Why is this situation and the murder of Masa Amini a global concern? We're speaking to everyone from their personal experiences to their expertise and to their hearts. Thank you, each and every one who is here. We have an amazing group of moderators, but most importantly, we have an amazing group of people who are on the stage and listening alike. This is not my room. This is our room. This is a safe space for each of us to speak our minds, speak our hearts, and speak from our souls. I would love to hear from anyone who has a personal story that they would like to share, facts that they would like to give, or ideas that they might want to have. Questions are always welcome from everybody.
Tehran,
Um,
I have a question that that might be helpful to the room, and I don't want to be the one to answer it because there's certainly people more educated on the subject than me. But can somebody talk about the distinction between? I mean, Iran has a president, right, and has a religious leader, and I feel like that's sometimes confusing, and also the process of like this
But
semi democracy voting thing without getting political. I think just kind of understanding the leadership might be a little bit helpful.
so let's talk about the structure of Iran's president and supreme leader, and also its idea of a theocratic democracy that is in existence, and why this is a real or false perception. And I can't think of anyone better to speak on this subject than an expert in the Middle East, which is Holly DeGrosse. Holly, are you still with us?
Oh, geez. You're putting me on the spot. I actually wanted to ask you a question, Taron, but and
What is the question, Holly?
I came to learn from you. That's why I came in here. Maybe some of you have seen this, but there's been a lot of references to BLM and George Floyd in the past few days in reference to the protests in Iran. I actually saw even a cartoon that was done by an Iranian cartoonist in Iran that was Iran in black, and it had written in Persian George Floyd. And I was wondering, how do you feel, or what do you make of these references to BLM? And do you think that they even make sense, or do you see correlations there? So I was really curious to hear
I
your
can talk
thoughts on
about
that.
that.
Sure. Tehran, you can answer, and whoever else is there.
Who spoke on this first? Who spoke up?
Aiden,
I'm so sorry. What is?
hello, Aiden,
Yes,
on the stage. Do you want me to tell you what's about?
Aiden. Hi. I think she was
Hi.
asking me because I'm black. But if you would like to speak,
No,
we'd
but
love
because
to
it's
hear
it's
from
an
you.
Iranian politics thing. I mean, when the George Floyd thing happened in the U.S., the Supreme Leader came on TV a couple of days after that and said all the wrong things about the U.S. government and the fact that they kill their own people on the streets and they do that and they're a cruel government and they don't listen to their people and things like that. And now that this has happened in Iran. He came on TV after 7 days, and he didn't even talk about Massa.
He didn't say a
And
word, nothing.
yeah, he didn't say anything. Yeah. So that's why Iranians are creating a reference that you do care about someone in the US being killed by the police, but and it happens in your own country, you don't even talk about it after 7 days. Because he was so quick after what happened to George Floyd, he came onto TV like 24 hours or 48 hours after. So that's the reference. It's not really about the BLM or anything like that. It's that's why people are talking about them or compare them in Iran.
I, I think that's, yes, I'm aware of that reference as well, but I've also seen Iranians in the West make this reference, and I'm not entirely sure that they're actually seeing that correlation. So I was just kind of curious how Tehran even feels about this as someone that's of mixed background. But I do appreciate you giving some more insight to the situation for the people that are listening.
I I appreciate that
For 2 minutes.
wonderful insight. I would have loved to have given it. Aideen, if you want to tell Holly how I feel about this as well, you're more than welcome to do so.
I can't speak to that.
ترن ولکن نیستی وقتی گیر میدی
Yo,
ها.
I'm never, of course, I'm still
Oh
Tehran.
God.
Even I will always be Tehran. Do you understand? I'm
Hey,
always
I
gonna be
hate
Tehran.
it.
But
Tehran,
Aideen,
Tehran,
this is
Can
while
David.
you're
Can I
at
Let's
it,
talk
talk
about
for
the
a minute?
hold
petition,
on,
if that's
Aideen,
okay.
Aideen. We will talk about that. Mystic, you will be next in the queue. Aideen, you were about to say something when I was picking on you in a teasing, fun way.
yeah, that's the price. So I wanted to ask you something about this petition. I know that you want to review that, and you have all the rights to do that. But because so many people are here, and we can definitely use their help spreading the word. It's hosted on change.org, which is the most popular petition website on earth with 400 million users. And the address is change.org/Masa Amini. And so if you could pin it to the page so everyone can click through, that would be awesome because we
You're,
really need this support
Yes,
from you
Tehran. I
guys.
think
and
we'll
I
we'll
completely
get your
understand
views
that.
next week sometime, Tehran.
I com-
Apparently.
I completely understand. I completely understand that, Ideen, and and you're more than welcome to talk about it, and people are more than welcome to research it for themselves. But because I have not researched it and I haven't read it and I don't know what it is, I do not like taking the concept of other people or secondhand information. I like being in the know before I support something personally, and that's why I am remiss to pinning something that I'm not 100% sure about, and that's the concern. I love
Oh yeah,
being in the
I
know.
definitely appreciate that. I just texted you on back channel the URL. If you just
I
click
have
on
the
it, it's
URL.
like
I
it's
just
like
have to
three
sit and take
paragraphs.
the
It's gonna
time.
take like 1 minute for you to review. It's
Yeah.
nothing really long. I mean, it just tells the story and is asking the international community to make the Islamic Republic basically pay the price. But nothing more than that. I mean, I completely understand your concern here, but I just wanted to say that
I
it's
would
it's
do
we're
that with
trying our best to
everything.
spread the word. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I really
Of
appreciate that.
course. I even if my own mom told me something and she's actually a stream expert, I look it up. I'm like, "Are you sure that's your name? I need to know." So that's just how I am as a person, and I feel like I wish more people eh, would research and look things up. Uh, if people could say their names and add themselves to the queue, I would also like to answer
Sean
Holly's
G.
question.
Would you
How do
please
you add to the
let
queue?
me tell something because it's almost more than 2 hours I'm waiting,
I
and
I'm sorry,
a lot of
Goldbag.
people.
I'm sorry you've been waiting. If you could just be patient a little bit longer. Tehran, about 5 times it's kind of been asked of you, and we haven't gotten an answer yet. How do you feel about correlations being made against Black people and police brutality in America being correlated to what happened to Masa Amini?
Yes, Salah. Thank you so much. I will get to that answer. Also, the queue is going to go Mystic, then Goldbag, and then whoever else would
Sean
like to
G.
be added to the queue, and
David.
Sean Chi, and David. So that's the next four people. If everyone could remember
Yes,
that
I've been
order.
waiting for a long time. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in the line as well.
We've all been, Behnam, we can hear you. You're fifth. We've been waiting 40 plus years, so we're all in this together. As far as the correlation between Black Lives Matter and Masa Amini, police brutality is police brutality no matter where you go, especially when anyone is oppressing or brutalizing another group of people. I do not like when Iranians often say things to the nature of, well, you cared about Black Lives Matter, so you have to care about this. That's not how that works. This isn't an either or situation. We can always care about them both. I don't think they are comparable in the situation of what they are. I think that they are relative in what they mean. And what they mean is people being tired of being brutalized by those in power. What they mean is people uniting on the street and not waiting for others to show up for them, but showing up for themselves. What they mean is a movement and how people coming together can be the true change the world needs to be. The more eyes on a situation, the more we pressure and create that change as well. Accountability, transparency, equal responsibility, and most importantly, it's about uniting people for a common good cause because we all know wrong when we see wrong. And that is what it's all about. So these are two movements of the people, for the people, by the people. And that's what Iran truly is, much like Black people, American people. Iran is its people, not its government. Now, going to the queue, we will be going next to Mystic. Mystic, you had a question or a comment for the queue?
Don't be shy now.
I don't believe Mystic is still currently in the room.
Hey,
We
is on the
Tehran,
phone.
can I be
Oh,
a
Mystic is
can
on the phone, so we're gonna
Looks like
go
it.
to Goldbag. We'll go to Goldbag and then go back to Mystic, and then it was Sean G, David, and
Samji,
Behnam.
actually, Sam.
Samji, David, and Behnam. Goldbag.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tehran. Finally, I have some time to talk. Sorry, it's 6:30 in Germany, so and I didn't sleep
I'm
up to
with
now.
you in Germany, Goldberg. I am with you in Germany.
You are
I am in
perfect,
Germany right now.
but I should go to the work in half an hour. Okay, I just want to just remind to all people here in this room that we are here to stop killing more people. We are not here to just find the reason or what is the difference or what are the main difference between this country and that country. But, you know, currently the situation in Iran is really horrible. I'm just 5 years coming to the Germany, and before that, I was just took a part in the participated in all the strikes and the marches, especially in 2009, and also even when Neda Agha Sultan was shooted. I just had 6-7 meters distance to her. And also, I just want to tell you two of my experiences, the real experiences. First one is the government army just with a motorcycle just cover one of the students of Tehran University, because we are living in Amirabad Street, which is exactly in the middle of Tehran, in front of the dormitory of Tehran University, and I myself and we in the family see from the window that they cover it, and then they just come and just put his head, they just give his hair and put it several times to the wall, and then after that put it in the motorcycle and then go. So that not just this, that that student or those students just killed or I don't know, moved to other places. Even still, there are several families who doesn't know that where are the students. And then after that, we are exactly living in the 14th Avenue of Amirabad, exactly in front of the dormitory of the boys. And we see that how these government armies just with electric button just put on them and put on the head or each part of the body of the students. And then these students just come out of the window like a ball in at night, and with some like some extractions, some I can, I don't know, some lights or something like this. And then they come to our street and just put these button to all the lights of on top of the bells, and then come to the roof of the houses, and then come to the stairs, and then come to the behind the doors, and also wanted to come to the houses. So these are the situations that I myself and there are a lot of people just saw it in Tehran. And now I just want to tell you that even now, currently, my brother and my mother are living in Tehran, exactly in that street, and still these situation is so hard there. Especially, I just want to tell you that we need support of all countries, because the governments and UN and US, Europe, none of the countries itself governments help us. So we need people to just be with us because of humanity, and just the open heart, and we just together can do something for Iranian who are just now in the street, and especially tomorrow, because tomorrow is the Friday, and after praying on Friday, exactly in the middle of the town, Tehran, it is so much hard and so much strike again, and it is awful. And especially after this, after Raisi just will come back to the Tehran. So these are the situation currently exists in the Tehran, and we need the support. I don't know how, I don't know what is the best way, because I am a normal person, and I just want to transfer that what is the current situation in Iran, and that's it. Thank you so much for the mic, and I'm so sorry that I just speak with this voice, and almost too long. Thank you so much, Tehran. Thank you.
You spoke amazingly, and your voice was very powerful. Thank you so much, Goldberg, for being a part of our room. It wouldn't be the same without you. If Mystic is available, we would love to hear Mystic speak, who's been waiting. If not, I know that Mystic was on the phone for some time. We do have a queue, which is going to go to Sam G, and then David, and then Behnam. And Mystic can jump in the queue at any time. And all the women, actually, if women would like to speak, we have a very safe space, open space for women. So women take preference and can speak at any time. Just add yourselves to the queue.
Um,
So
I think
some
Tehran Ali was also blinking to be at the queue. If you can add him, please.
Allie, okay,
Yes,
Allie
Ali with
and
Ali Mirza.
MH Bands, Allie will go to that. If any of the women in
Hello
the room
guys.
or anyone who identifies as a woman would like to speak at any time, we would enjoy having you in the queue at any time and speak up on this horrific situation. This is also including, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the person who wrote me specifically. I will find you and I'll get back to you. There's a person speaking. So if Sam G is available, Sam G, we would love to hear from you.
All right, thank you, Tara and John. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I also moved to, well, I lived in Iran till I was 15. Morality police, I think this is a common pain for all of us. We all have been stopped by them, harassed by them, and mostly women are being stopped by them nowadays. It's their laws change there on regular basis, and we all get harassed and traumatized. So I think this is a common pain for Iranians around the world. And I really appreciate all the Americans being here or wherever the world you're from. And thank you so much for spreading the word. We definitely need this. Hopefully, this will stop the government of killing people. 25 people have died so far in the past 7 days, and we really need your help to spread the word. Use the hashtag Massa Amini and just spread the word. I had so much more to say, but I've been up all day and I can't really focus anymore. It's 12 o'clock here. And good luck on your show, Sarah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you very much, Sam G. Uh,
Taran John,
yes.
before we continue, I'd like to welcome one of my friends, my dear friends on stage. His name is Mr. Soros. He's the one that's got a purple ring around his profile with the cap. He has been the voice of the silence of the Iranian community for the first days of within the first days of joining Clubhouse. And he has lots of rooms where he uh, discusses many problems of the regime. Whenever you see fit, I want him to kind of give us the idea of to what's happening on the ground in Iran with the protests and the situation there. I just wanted to say something in Farsi to him because he does not speak English at all. جناب آقای سروش خیلی خوش اومدین. خوشحالم که اینجا هستین. با افتخار هر موقع که خودتون خواستین صحبتی داشته باشین با کمال میل من میتونم براتون ترجمه بکنم. So بفرمایید
Well,
آقای سروش.
let's, if we can possible, let's hear from him now.
Sure.
And Fasha John, if you could
ترن جان
please.
خودت فارسی باشین صحبت کن.
Uh,
آقای سروش هستین؟
بله درود و عرض ادب.
Taran, as you can see, he has a muffler on his phone, so he's not recognized by the regime. That's why you hear the voice change. But go ahead. آقای سروش بفرمایید.
ممنونم از همه شما عزیزان. باید به شما عرض کنم که در ایران یک انقلاب زنانه شکل گرفته توسط مردم ایران برای حفظ هویت ملی خودشون در برابر حکومتی که قصدش گسترش تروریسم و ایدئولوژی اسلامی غلطی است که باعث ناامنی در سراسر دنیا شده.
wow. من ترجمه کنم آقای سروش رو بفهم. For everyone who didn't understand what he said, yo, this shit is fucked up.
Basically.
Well said.
In 4 words, but that's not what he said.
I felt like that's what he meant.
Taran.
What he was saying is basically that there's a revolution of women that's taken to the streets in regards to this oppressive Islamic regime. آقای سروش بفرمایید.
رژیم جمهوری اسلامی مردان، زنان و مردمی که تنها آزادی میخوان رو داره در خیابونهای ما مورد ضرب و شتم قرار میده و اونها رو به قتل میرسونه. ویدیوهایی به دست ما رسیده که در کانال تکنویس گذاشتیم دقیقا اینها رو نشون میده. حمله به خونه های مردم، حمله به زنان، کودکان، و مردانی که تنها آزادی میخوان، دموکراسی میخوان و حقوق بشر رو از رژیم جمهوری اسلامی مطالبه میکنن، ولی جمهوری اسلامی پاسخ اونها رو با گلوله میده.
What he advocated was specifically that there is a lot going on in the country right now in regards to clips, in regards to protests that are peaceful, in regards to people speaking up, critiquing the current regime and all of its effects. And the answers to these questions are replied with bullets from the government. آقای سروش بفرمایید.
تنها خواسته ای که مردم ایران الان دارن این هستش که هر کسی در هر جای دنیا میتونه صدای مردم ایران رو به گوش جهانیان برسونه، به گوش دولت مردان اروپایی و امریکایی برسونه تا بتونن کمکی به این مردم ستم دیده ایران انجام بدن. برای ما خیلی مهمه که شما بتونید دولت مردان اروپایی و امریکایی رو وادار کنید که به رژیم جمهوری اسلامی فشار بیارن تا یک رفراندوم آزاد در ایران برقرار کنه تا مردم ایران خودشون آینده این حکومت رو، آینده خودشون رو بر اساس اصول دموکراسی و حقوق بشر تعیین کنن، خودشون ساختار حکومتی خودشون رو تعیین کنن. این میتونه یک کمک بزرگ به مردم ایران باشه.
What Mr. Suresh advocated was that the most help that people outside of Iran and in the diaspora can do is be the voice of those that are inside Iran, be the people that allow their fellow countrymen outside of Iran, their governments outside of Iran, especially in Europe and America, to be made aware of the atrocities and oppressions forced upon the people by the government, that this can be the help, and hopefully that the countries outside of Iran can add pressure to the government of Iran in order to enlist ideologies of freedom and human rights to the people. آقای سروش بفرمایید.
من جمله پایانیمو میگم کوتاه. مردم ایران، زنان و مردان و کودکان همه با هم تنها دموکراسی رو میخوان، تنها آزادی رو میخوان، تنها حقوق بشر رو میخوان. فشار بیارن به رژیم ایران، دولت مردان اروپایی و امریکایی، این رو بخواید ازشون که یک رفراندوم آزاد در ایران برگزار بشه.
What Mr. Suresh advocated was, in his short form, that the people of Iran, the men of Iran, the women of Iran, the children of Iran simply want freedoms. They want human rights. And what is necessary is that there is pressure placed upon the current government in order to rectify this horrific situation. Simply put, the people of Iran want democracy, the right to choose. Someone should pay me to translate. Can we talk about this or no? All right.
I'm so impressed. I'm really
Dude,
impressed.
so impressed.
I
I'm
mean,
more impressed that I remember what was said.
the,
Merci, Alay Surush. Merci,
the
Madam.
fact that he's having to use a voice changer to speak is even more evidence why we need to speak up
It
on
is
this behalf.
100%. But it's also the fact that he used the voice changer breaks my heart. What breaks my heart even more is that Farshad gave his entire name, birthplace, last name, was like, this is Surush Rahnamai or whatever. He's
No,
been doing this since day one. Like, Farshad, you're a snitch, bro. You're a
what?
snitch. Can we talk about how
اذیتک
Farshad snitched on this guy's using a voice changer? He's
فرشت
using a voice
خرابکاری
changer.
کردی.
Like he
don't
was
throw me
like,
under the
"Yo,
bus.
he lives on the northern left side of Tehran in Neavaron on the Strait of Azadieh. If you go up, there's a house, there's a greenhouse. He's calling us from there. Like, what are you doing right now, Farshad? Thank you so much. آقای سروش مرسی که اومدین با ما هستین
مرسی
و خیلی
خواستم.
خوشحالم از آشناییتون و تشکر میکنم از شما و هموطنان عزیز که درون ایران هستن. ما صدای شما رو پخش میکنیم. um, for everyone who doesn't speak Farsi, I basically said the next attack is October 14th. Everybody be careful. Okay.
Stop it, bro.
You
Can you
listen,
take me seriously?
you all voted me to be the moderator. I was trying to go to, it's 7 a.m. here.
Some of these
I will
people will take
always
you
be
seriously,
Tehran.
bro.
uh, they of course it's always good to have a light heart sense, because if not we will be full of tears all the time. A revolution without a smile is no revolution at all, and that's what we're building, is a revolution, but not so much just on the ground, but also in people's minds and hearts about the country of Iran. Iran is its people and not its government. And this isn't a political statement. This isn't a religious statement. This is simply basic human rights that we're advocating for, ideologies that should be given to every single human being on the planet Earth. Now, going back to the queue, we do have some people that were waiting patiently. David, who is wearing glasses, is next. And then we have Behnam. After David and Behnam, we have MH Bands and Ali. Those are the two. Anyone who identifies as a woman can join. Mystic is actually back. Mystic, if you would like to speak at this point, we would love to hear from you. We've been waiting for your.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having this room up. It's great to see a lot of American Canadians out here supporting everyone. We had a huge petition organized at UFT downtown Toronto, and as well as like Melasman Square in Toronto. So everyone's going out there and showing their support. This is great. I just want to thank all of you for doing this. I am an Iranian Canadian uh, who's been out of Iran for 26 years, so it's really sad for me to see a lot of these things happening so far. Yeah, it's just heartbreaking. I wanted to talk about the petition, but I know you, Tehran, you mentioned what you mentioned, so I won't push the subject. But I do know the individual who did create it, and yeah, maybe look into that, and then hopefully we can get that going as well.
This petition, I'm definitely going to look into it. I feel like at this point it's a cult. Everyone's pushing me to this petition, so I will look into the petition.
I
I
was
would like to
looking into it. I did my research on the
everyone
individual who did create it, so I
I
trust him. He's from New York, so that's
I
why.
definitely don't trust people from New York. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look into the position. I would like to read the lines and the fine print. And the reason is because uh, I just love knowing things for myself. I would do that with anything. I would do that in regards to any application, foundation, or information that was brought to me. I would do that with all. Maybe that's the law school in me. Maybe it's the Iranian in me. Maybe it's the black in me that just doesn't trust, or maybe it's the concept of individual thought versus group think, and I just like to think for myself no matter what. I'm a person who owns an Android. I don't give into peer pressure easy. You know? That's who I am.
I also have some videos that I would like to share. I don't know if you have a Telegram group or something that you could possibly make where we could share some of these private videos that I do have. They're not public yet. So, and that
I,
they actually do show what is really happening in Iran. It's heartbreaking, but if people want to see, I think it would be good to share.
there are a couple Telegram groups that have begun in regards to this situation. I personally, while I do start these Telegram groups in order to get a lot of group people, I then remove myself because I don't like Telegram. I don't like people sending me things, links. Everyone to me is a Nigerian prince, so I don't really just click links, but I will I will lead you to these Telegram groups that exist, and a couple which I've begun, which have now. The last one has roughly somehow 8,000 people are on this group. So I will send that to you, and then you can add it in there. And people, I'm sure, would love to upload it and show each other what's really going on. Information is always power. Knowing is half the battle. So, everybody being in the know is so important right now, more than ever, because when you know better, you do better. And it's time for us to unite and do better. Thank you so much, Mystic. I will definitely check out this petition. Sure, I'll take a hit of the drug. Let me read it and then I'll let everyone know.
Thank you. I
Going
appreciate it.
next in the queue is David still here? Because David's been wanting
I'm
to
here.
talk
I'm here.
for
Yeah.
17 hours. He's been wanting to talk. David has needed to pee for the last 6 hours, and he keeps asking, "Are we there yet?" Finally, we're there, David. It is your turn to speak.
Actually, I had the floor once, so thank you first of all for the great room as a club owner in Clubhouse. I think you did a great job. Thanks for bringing attention to this important subject, and I hope this continues with your help and everyone else and everyone who's an influencer anywhere in the social media and, or anywhere else. I'm a co-founder of Stop Child Executions with Nazanin Afshin Jam, former Miss Canada. We had a campaign for a few years that because Iran is number one in executing, believe it or not, children. Children are defined as those under 18 years old by UN Convention of the Right of the Child. You cannot kill a child. I mean, execute a child for any reason or put them in prison for life. But Iran is number one for doing that. Simply just waits for them to become 18 and then do that. We were able to save a lot of people. We were on Fox, CNN, BBC, etc., etc. Just wanted to give you background information. This is the country that even kills children. It's been going on for so long under Raisi and others. And just for data, Iran is number two in executing people. Number one is China, but comparing the populations, Iran is number one in percentage of population of its own people that it kills under different criteria. I just wanted to give you that was a little background about the human rights, children rights violations, and about my own background. But it's important to say one thing, especially for Elijah, who wanted to put this to perspective, what's going on in the streets of Iran and Tehran. And Iran, I mean, every single city is has there's an uprising. And the first of all, the generation is basically mostly anywhere from 16 years old to people to their primarily 20s and 30s, and then there's all others, and it's girls and boys, basically youth. The main slogan has been, say it in Farsi first, Zan Zendegi Azadi, women, life, freedom. Remember, women, let's start with women. Basically, that means in the slogan, women's rights. So that's what we've been talking about in this room. I'm not going to get into subject. That's the first thing that they want. Women's right. Isn't that the right of women's right is human rights? Remember? That's what it means. The second word of the slogan is life. In other words, normal life. They're simply asking for a normal life that a human deserves by articles of the human rights, the 30 items of the articles of human rights that was established after Second World War. That's all it is, a normal life, nothing else. What we just take for granted in the free world. So all these kids want. They see you guys. They see us in the internet and everything, and say, "Why don't I have that? That's all I want. I want any more. Just a normal life." So that's the second thing, and the third thing is freedom. The freedom that even any animal has. Humans should have it too. Well, I mean, animal like animal in the free in the jungle, whatever. So it's very basic what these kids want. They're tired. They don't want. They don't see a future, and that's what they want. The girls want a freedom like Western girls have. Their choice. If they want hijab, they don't want hijab, whatever, bikini or not, etc. Same with boys. A normal life, and that's all they say. Zan zindagi azadi. Nothing else. That's all they want. Nothing special. Just what you and I have. That's all I have to say. Thank you for the great room.
Thank you so much, David, for speaking and speaking up and speaking so much truth. Also, if I had known you had already spoken, I would have blocked you. You can't go twice. You know how this queue works. Okay. Going to the next person.
Yes, thank you, everybody. When I entered your room, first you
And
said,
David, I would never block you, David. Don't worry. You're more than welcome here. Your voice is always welcome. Okay. Uh, now going back to Behnam. Behnam, please.
Can you hear me?
We can hear, not only can we hear you, honestly, we can feel you in our hearts.
Okay, that's great. So when I first joined this room, you said this room is about justice. And I think the very embodiment of injustice is the Islamic Republic. And the reason is it's all the atrocities that you all just talk about. And I do not want to just repeat that. But when I'm thinking about the government taking action at the end of the day, it boils down to the mutual interests. So we need to talk about that. So Iran is the head of the snake. If you are talking about terrorism financing, terrorism activities, terrorist activities, or drug smuggling, or money laundering,
You know,
all
we got
these.
to stay on topic, man. We got to stay on topic. All these tangents, Tehran, this is, I don't know where he's going with this. Like, we agreed in the beginning to stay on topic. He's going off to some theories that he has about terrorism and drugs. Like, come on, man. Come on,
So
Okay.
stay
I
on
don't,
topic.
I would like to say,
Stay on
Behnam,
topic.
I have a question for you, Behnam Jun. Where are you in the world right now?
I'm in the US.
You're in the US?
Yes.
I appreciate it. In regards to Masa Amini and the atrocities that you brought up, we do want to stay on topic, but I would love to hear you speak your mind. You've been waiting in the queue. Let's give you a little leeway, and hopefully, it'll bring right back to what is factual and what is real, especially since you have some personal experiences with everything that's gone on in Iran in regards to you, your home life, your family life, your personal life. We feel you, Behnam.
Okay, I think it's a fact that they have done a lot of terrorist activities around the world. I don't think this is going to be justice. And this event, mass murder, is an opportunity. It's an historic opportunity to end this injustice. I'm talking about the root cause. I'm not just talking about the.
100%.
Yes, that's the root cause, and what we can expect from the countries. All of these humanitarian issues is great to mobilize masses to for social mobilization, but at the end of the day, we want the action. We want action from governments, and governments take action more primarily based on mutual interest. For example, they want more stable Middle East, less war, a reduced oil price, better trade, a boost to the world economy, long-term partnership with countries. So this is a historic moment, and there are a lot of emergencies. When I think we are going to see violence in my home country, and that's the result is because there are a lot of protests in the streets, and the regime response has always been to suppress, and we can see brutality. This is based on the track record. If you are not criticizing me for some kind of theories, this is the track record, and this is going to happen again. So this is, I believe, an opportunity to pursue some shared interest, mutual interest. And we need to brainstorm about this. You have a large audience. I think this is a good thing. We need to brainstorm how we can connect to a state official, federal official, to celebrities, to journalists in the US to talk about them, about this opportunity. They can engage in funding the protests that are in Iran, even military intervention to end the suppression. I believe we are going to see massacres. I believe we are going even carnage. This is something that this regime is going to do as its final option to continue to stay in power. So the world powers like the United States can talk about freezing their assets, calling their ambassadors out of the country, stopping trade, news coverage, even Security Council meetings. I'm talking about the real issues that are happening in on the ground. So I believe we need to be creative about this, be more organized. We know everything about the atrocities. We are just we are engaging in a lot of emotions and repeating ourselves about atrocities. We need to think about actions. We need to have an agenda. This is our obligation, I believe. So I've joined your room to tell you that you are a large audience. Please continue these kind of rooms. Let us use this opportunity to help the people that are in danger, and there are going to be some mutual interest materialized at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, Behnam, for speaking your mind and speaking your heart and speaking your soul. First of all, I do not disagree with you in regards to actions. I thought you were going to say we should come up with solutions, and I'm looking in this room, and there's no one that I think is qualified to lead a country except for Mitra or maybe Neda way at the bottom. Other than that, I wouldn't trust any of these people
What
with
about
balancing
me?
a
I
book
would make
job.
everyone happy.
این هر کی
Who was
خوشگل
me?
انتخاب میکنه
Who was
تهران.
me? Who said me?
Mystic, mystic.
Definitely not Mystic. Here's what I'm saying. Definitely. If Mystic brings up the petition one more time, like
No, I
okay.
would just
So
bring the pot.
yeah. So
All right,
my
Mr.
thing with what Betnam was saying is that I love where you're coming from. Betnam, how long have you been in the United States from Iran?
It's more than 5 years. What I feel from your room, I think you are not connected enough to the realities of my home country because the situation is so dire, so people are so in danger, and the moment is so historic, and I cannot even empathize with you. The mood of your room, you seem so happy, but when we are in our own room, we feel the danger, the people who are talking, and kind
Well,
of emergency.
let me rectify that really quick, Betnam, because maybe you misinterpreted my jovial attitude. I'm a person who comes with positive energy because only positivity can fight negativity. But as far as my empathy, not only am I, of course, of Persian descent, my father is Iranian, named me Tehran, which is where most of this calamity is actually materializing. But more importantly, I also have a double undergrad degree in international politics and communications with a minor in religious philosophical studies, a master's in economics, and a law degree, just because I wanted to understand more and relate specifically to the expertise in the Middle East. So knowledge wise, I have it. As far as understanding what it's like to be oppressed, as a person who's a double minority also in the United States, I can at least somehow reflect on it. But what I've also learned, and what most people, for example, black people in this country have learned, is that we do so with a smile because you can't fight a war with tears. And so while we understand your pain, don't misinterpret my pleasure. What you should understand is that that positivity has been able to keep an extremely oppressed people afloat for the last 250 years. And
Tehran,
that same energy is what I bring to the table everywhere I
honestly,
go.
I need to feel more drive to action. That was what I
And
feel.
what you need to
Whoa.
understand is, Behnam, this is a drive to action. The action is awareness. The action is having eyes of people from the rest of the world on Iran. It's the people who have all the answers that I'm always afraid of, because it's the people with the answers that cause the most problems. What I'm simply proposing is that people even see the problem, something that most people in the world don't do right now, something that should be seen even through the eyes of a blind man. So,
Tehran,
what
can you
I'm
disagree
showing,
with what I said?
Behnam, I think you're just overstepping at this point because I think we here as Iranians are coming here to be united and trying to help each other and inform Canadian, Americans, English speaking
Europeans,
individuals.
Africans, Chinese, Indians, the rest
Yes.
of the world's population in regards to the strife in Iran. And while I really appreciated those amazingly, preposterously big words you used, Behnam, I also think that the action itself is awareness. Is awareness is a form of help. And that having this voice and having rooms like this is what leads to change. So while I understand your militant nature and you coming from a disparaging background 5 years removed, I completely understand where you're coming from. It's frustrating. It's frustrating, the situation. And oftentimes, when a person feels helpless, they lash out, sometimes even at those who are trying to help them from drowning. So all we're
Amen.
doing is offering a hand up, not a handout, Behnam. There is a difference. We're in this together, regardless of where we are in the world. In fact, we're in this together, regardless of who we are in the world. We are all together right now. And that's what the point of this room is. That in itself is an action. Now, you're more than welcome to open up your own room that's headline hashtag solutions to Iran's systemic inequalities and injustice. And I believe a lot of people would join and they would sit there and they would argue and fight over what's right and what's wrong. They would come up with political ideologies and they would oppress and suppress one group while regressing and refreshing another, and all of those things. I welcome humanity's plan. But what I
Well,
simply state is that the plan itself is for us to know we are all in this together and it is a small world after all. Someone was about to speak.
it was me. I was gonna say that. Plus, you should expect the best from people who are standing in solidarity with you. One, two. You don't know what many of us on this stage have done behind closed doors or are doing behind closed doors. So it's like you have to expect the best from people who are standing in solidarity with you. That's all.
Over 5,000 people have came into this room, more than half who've never even heard the name of Masa Amini. And so I really take it's a little bit offensive for you to come in and say that you need to see action or take action when the action is being taken and is proving to be fruitful. It's just it's I don't think that it's okay for you to make these kind of judgments when it is being very, very effective. Look how many people have come through and are being exposed to what is going on when they may have not known at all.
Bananjum, unlike my compatriots, I think that it's amazingly okay for you to do that. And of course you should question and want things. That's how this works. So I appreciate you. I just don't want you to misinterpret my mood or my actions. I don't want you to do it in that regards. But of course, I want you to question. I want you to ask. I want you to want. I want you to desire. I want that compassion. I want that passion. Ultimately, it's things like this that lead to the flame of change. However, the only step that I am taking, which I expressed early on, is the bare minimum of being aware and voicing what is going on in Iran and people's personal feelings and stories, and doing so in a highlighting way. And the key word there isn't high, it's light. It's a lighting way because without light, we can never fight the darkness. So thank you so much for your opinion, Bethnam. I really appreciate you for speaking your mind. And next in the queue was Ali and then MH Bands. Or was it MH Bands and then Ali? MH Bands and then Ali.
Can I just add one more
F-
statement to this? Just
Of
everyone
course.
oh,
everyone here is coming here with their own picture. They are speaking on their own behalf with their name, with their social media attached. I think they are also taking that risk and they are looking out and reaching out to their friends and explaining what's happening so that everyone understands. And thank you, Tehran. Thank you to the moderators and everyone here who's sharing and doing everything.
Thank you so much. And honestly, to be very fair, I'm not taking any risk. I haven't planned on going to Iran anytime soon. My family in Iran is probably gonna get locked up, and I didn't like some of them anyway. But Me personally, that's why I'm saying like I'm here,
Iran.
right? I'm here. So I'm not on the streets. It's actually very interesting that I hear people talk and it's like we're almost advocating for people to go into the streets and swim in their own blood. And that's not what I want. What I want is simple change, and there is change to be had if there are eyes on the country and there's a microscope of under the scope of human rights. Even China has had to change. Even America has had to change. And these are the superpowers, dominant powers of the world. They've had to change. They didn't want to change. America, people forget historically, America did not want desegregation. It did not want civil rights. It did not want any lack of redlining or even things even as recent as Black Lives Matter. It did not want any of those things. Everywhere is always good with the status quo. It's through the power of the unity of people that change is ever evident. It is always self-evident in those manners. And that is why the power of the people, the power has always rested amongst the people. MH Bands, you've been waiting and I know you have to go. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Thanks so much, Tehran. And honestly, thanks for hosting such an awesome room. Look, I personally felt very impacted by this because I was born in Tehran. But, you know, when I was much younger, at the age of 11, my mother and my sister went to visit Iran, as you do. You know, I've personally never been there, just like yourself, Tehran. I probably would never go because I'm proud of where I come from and the history, but I'm not proud of the state the country's in, unfortunately. But when they were there, my mum actually got harassed and approached by some of these mullahs, these morality police. And what she actually informed me, which was really bizarre, was that you have the morality police and then you have a bunch of just degenerates who wish they were morality police. You know, you mushed alof. And they pick on people for the sake of picking on people because they've got nothing better to do. And they'll like remove a little booklet and try and write your details down so they can go and dob you in and so forth. And the thing that got so tense with this particular situation is they actually tried to take my mother into custody while my sister was there with her. And the situation got amplified because of the people who joined in on the hype of a part of my mother's hair showing, right? Now, this blew me away because my dad, my brother, we were here trying to work out what the hell to do when we got a call from my relatives during this particular situation. And since then, my mum didn't go back. My mum used to love going back every year, seeing her family and so forth, but she didn't go back. And this was quite a while ago. But the thing that really blew my mind was back then we didn't have any social media. So instances like this weren't actually recorded, reported, or anything like that. And I think it was Mitra who was saying before, you know, share the hashtag, you know, share examples. Well, if you have a look all over TikTok and other elements of social media, women are actually sharing instances where they've had to record these morality police for their own safety out of fear of being put away, and these are actually being blasted all over the internet right now. So I think, and one gentleman was talking about, you know, writing to your congressman, et cetera, and so forth. I think the movements today, especially with what was happening in Ukraine and other movements across the globe, the power that social media has over and above everything else these days, because the community is what makes changes, is probably the pinnacle of what I would recommend everybody do. I've been sharing them, even if they all of a sudden cut off the internet in Iran and don't allow people to share these kind of stories anymore because it's bad publicity. Download the videos, share them, tag, repeat, because this is the kind of awareness that people are catching on to these days because everybody's glued to their phones. Great room, Tehran. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody else who's contributed. Really appreciate you allowing me to speak. Thank you.
I appreciate you, MH Bands. Thank you so much. And we all feel the pain of your mother because that could easily be any of our mothers. So thank you so much. In the queue next is Ali. Ali with his Nima NY shirt. Ali, we would love to hear you speak.
Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, good night. I'm from Melbourne. I was really enjoy that to participate this conversation. what I want to say, guys, what's going on in Iran? There is a movement that running by women. To me, in my view, is the incredible point that happened in Middle East. I don't have any more example in recent history of Middle East that such a this movement running by women. Do you know what I mean? What I want to say, to be honest, for foreigners, doesn't matter. They don't care where we are come from. They look at the Middle East as a whole. Uh, What we have to do, indicate, we have to mobilize that movement. We have to booking appointment, talking with the delegations, member of parliament, whatever you can. That um, highlighted this movement. That this is the critical moment in Iranian history. You know, this is the first time I see the one woman movement push back the theocratic authority who using violence and how to say scareness to dominate on its people. So instead of um, instead of talking about unnecessary things, what I'm going to suggest that we are living in other countries, freedom, democracy, everything. So we have access to the member of parliament. We have access to the political activities. So they don't know what's happening in Iran. Still, they're thinking Iran is Iraq. Still, they thinking Iranian women are like um, wearing burqa, and they don't care really. So what we have to do, we have to indicate it, we have to highlight it, and we have to how to say encourage them to get engaged with Iranian issue at the moment. It is difficult, but this is our responsibility at the moment, and I think is the um, most important things that we can do at the moment. Thank you so much, and that's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ali. We really respect your views and appreciate how much you show love and support, and obviously your compassion for the people of Iran. And it's not just the people of Iran, this is the people of the world. It is a slippery slope. Remember, at one time, Iran was the pinnacle of civilization. And technically speaking, what happens to these countries spills out into the rest of the world. If you notice, the head of the curve of what we see as extremism happens specifically in Iran, and then it's built. A lot of people don't know historically in 1979 during the Islamic Revolution, not only do they not know the exact historic components of what brought the Ayatollah Khomeini into power to begin with,
I
but
do.
they don't know also that Saudi Arabia conservatism is a direct result of the Islamic Revolution in Iran. Saudi Arabia was also a much more progressive country before Iran's government was overturned, and then Saudi Arabia became conservative as a direct result of Iran. And that just changed the nature of the region. A lot of people don't realize these things. A lot of people don't know that this is the head of the curve, that now, 40 years later, you see despots and dictatorships and extremism populating different places in the world. Even somewhere as liberal as Sweden has a new surge of an extreme right conservative political party taking hold inside its very walls and being elected into office. You're seeing this also now currently in Germany, places like Brazil, Venezuela, Peru, all across the world. And so all eyes should be on what happens into Iran, because as we say, Iran is an example of not only what happens regionally, but globally. And the person who said, I do, I feel like every Iranian feels that. I really appreciate that about you. Aideen, was that you?
No, that was me. Tehran. I'm Navid.
Navid?
Yeah. I
Hi, Navid. How are you?
I came to one of your shows with Mars Jorbani. I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. And thank you so much for coming to the show and supporting live comedy and supporting this room, Navid.
Yeah, you and Mars Jorbani is one of my favorite comedians. You as well. I ju- eh,
Thank you so much, Navi June. I really appreciate that. Uh, is does anyone know if Maz is in the room? No, Maz is not in the room. That means that
no.
Yes.
I should be your favorite comedian right now because Maz isn't even here.
Yeah,
So let's
you
just,
are. You
yeah,
are. You.
okay, good.
You both are
Love
you.
Maz, love you, Maz, but you're not here. So let's
Both.
step this up.
I'm saying both of you.
Okay, thank you
You.
so much, Navi. Did you have anything that you wanted to?
Yeah. Is it okay if I speak Tehran June? I
Go
don't
ahead,
mean to
Navi.
be. I don't mean to come on mic. So what you said is where I wanted to say first of all what is really mind blowing to see on the TV and to see how as I am an advocate for women's rights for Iran, and I have family in Iran, and I went 4 times to Iran to some in the summers, and Iran where it was it's a good country to go right now with the with what's been happening. I feel that we need to give a we need to appreciate women more longer and one and we need to have respect to women whether it's with hijab or what without hijab. I mean, let me for any one of you guys, let me tell you a little history about since Tehran said about 1979 and how Ayatollah Khomeini rose to power. It was because the reason he rose to power where he rose to power in 79, but it started before then with a guy in the 50s by the name of Nawab Safavi looked him up. He was one of the he was one of the monarchs that mm, before even before even mm, Ayatollah Khamenei's that
Navi
he
John, we have to stay on track on topic.
oh
I, I
sorry
think
sorry
let's
I
let's stay
apologize,
on
Navid.
topic.
Actually, I would love for you to continue. Thank you so much, Navi June. Please continue.
Real quick, Tom, before he
Sorry,
continues,
guys.
just a quick
it's
reminder.
all day. I will stay on topic. Never
Thank you,
mind.
Navi June. You
Yeah.
just keep
I
going. I
actually,
appreciate you.
Navid, if you could repeat the name of the guy's name that you said that was in the 50s, can you repeat his name?
Nawab Safavi. I don't know. I could, I could, where it was maybe 50s or 60s. I think it was 60s. Not Navab Nawab Safavi. S I'm not sure how you spell it, but he was one
S
of
A. It's Safavi.
yeah,
I
1956.
swear that's my Amu's name. I swear it's my Amu's name.
yeah. I don't know, maybe, I don't know you. Yeah.
Fuck, this is all my Amu's fault. I knew it.
You, no, it's not no Abu. No, don't go
Okay,
to your
everybody in
Abu,
America that's heard this is
please,
their Amu. So,
please.
Never know. You know, we're all cousins anyway, so who knows?
exactly.
Yes.
Like if he lived in Westwood, I would definitely be calling this guy Amu right now. I'd be like, Navi da Sapo Bobby Bobby. And it'd be like, go on. But Navi, please continue.
Sorry, I don't wanna stay. I wanna stay on topic. Sorry, I wanna say that we Iranians, not just Iranians, Americans, Chinese, whether is anybody, we should come together and be a diverse and what and what the and the what I wanna say is that we as even though we live as a society, we are who we should come as a society. We should raise our voice. We should be not, but we should be in our dignity. We should follow. I mean, I'm a man of disability rights and women's rights. We should have not. Because before 1979, in the 50s, I mean, women they were not with hijabs. But then after Reza, where after Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Shah of Iran, it went to women being with hijabs. So we are on my last thing is we need to stay strong. Sorry that I thought so long.
Thank you so much, Navi June. And you know what? Not only was that an amazingly well done history lesson, we learned names of people who I didn't even know were in my family, but now I feel like they are. But names we should look up, because that's the most important thing, is that we research things and learn things for ourselves. But you also left us with what is a truly simple but prolific and profound message. We need to stay strong. And how brilliant is that message? Sometimes the simplicity is always best. I remember the words in the 90s, like I was a kid, and there's these words I heard on TV, and it was like, why can't we all just get along? And it was the simplest statement, but it just made the most amount of sense. And now I hear these words again: we need to stay strong. And it's the simplest concept, and yet it's so profound and full of hope and full of energy and full of what we need most, which is simply to stay strong. And that's what you get when you have unity. When people come together, there's nothing we can't do. We can fly long distances in metal tin cans. We can build buildings as high as the sky itself. When people come together, we are unbreakable. If you take one stick from the ground, no matter how big that stick is, you can bend it and it will snap. But if you take that stick, and even if it's twigs, and bundle them together, they can never be broken. And yeah, you might crack one or two, but you can't crack them all. And that is why there's always strength in numbers and power in people. Thank you once again, Navid, for your amazingly profound yet simple statement. We need to stay strong. Who is next up in the
Tehran,
queue?
real
Tehran,
quick.
I'm in it.
1 second,
Can I
just
say
1 second.
Sorry,
something?
go ahead.
Hold on,
All right,
just one
Mazi.
second. I just have to. I've been getting a lot of messages on my back channel. People are getting kicked out of the room and kicked off stage, and they haven't even said anything. So, just let's make sure this is a safe place, and just we can't just
Yeah,
throw
no
people
kicking
out.
people off stage, no blocking people.
Thank you.
This is not the room for this. In fact, in a room where we're fighting for freedom of speech, if you do not believe in the freedom of speech of those you disdain, then you do not believe in the freedom of speech. So everyone has a right to be here. This is a free space. It's a safe space. We prefer positive energy and for you to contain your negative energy within yourself. But if you need to express it, we will just debate it and kill it with kindness. That is the kind of room we are. This is about unity, and most importantly, communication. So it's communication and unity equals community. That is how that works. So I would like to thank everyone who's been speaking their minds on the stage. Who wanted to speak up next? I heard a young lady's
That
voice,
was
but
me.
if you can introduce yourself,
It's
it's me,
Mitra. It's
Mitra.
Mitra. Yes.
Go on, Mitra.
Um, so I'm signing off for the night, but I wanted to leave everyone with two thoughts. When I first spoke in the room, I think I sort of opened with I'm feeling very hopeless. And then as you've been speaking, Tehran, I've been, and you mentioned a few things about smiling, and change doesn't happen without a smile. So I have been trying to think of things that I can be hopeful of in this situation. And I think it's just that, you know, maybe we're all a little afraid to be hopeful. But one of the things that gives me hope is the new generation of men in Iran that have stepped up. Obviously, that's not everyone, but there are men who are stepping up in Iran for their for their sisters. And we've seen images of men literally taking bullets to shield the women. So that was some powerful imagery for me that gives me hope. And then the other thought I want to share is, so my mom obviously grew up in Iran in the 50s and 60s, which in some way they had a lot of liberties. Obviously, it was a different time, but there were still, our culture unfortunately still has, or you know what, the whole world at that point really still had some work to do in terms of women's equality. She was president of the Women's Organization Iran, which is an organization that the Queen back then had started for the advancement of women's rights. The other night she said to me, she said, it's really interesting. She said, I think the revolution in Iran, the new revolution in Iran, is going to be because of women. And that thought to me was really beautiful because I guess I'm going to just leave everyone with like the revolution is female. And what a beautiful thing would that be if standing up for our women, our sisters and mothers, and, you know, just fellow human beings, is the thing that created change. So, in the interest of hope, I'm just going to leave everyone with that.
Uh, Thank you so much, and especially, obviously your mom being one of the powerful women of Iran created a very powerful Iranian woman, which is you. Mitra is an attorney, an entertainment attorney, and a very influential member of the community in Iran. I do want to let Mitra know that actually, it's interesting that your mom brings up that women will be the cause and the leaders of the revolution in Iran, because in the last 3 4 revolutions, it's actually been women who have led the revolution. A lot of people don't realize this. Even in 1979, it was also the women. During the 1950s, with the implementation of Mossadegh, it was also women, and it was specifically a woman that was instrumental in reinstating the Shah as well. Um, Abbas's sister. It's just a lot of Iranian women specifically consistently leading the way. And there is a lot of outside influence. Someone, Brooke, in the back channel asked me, when it comes to outside influences, if America's assistant would help or hurt Iran. That is a question. I have a personal opinion, but I would love to ask the room.
$1 million question.
Well, it's actually more like a $2.3 trillion question because of the amount of oil that Iran has, but we'll go on with that. I would like to still ask the room.
I think I also mentioned that it really has to do with the parameters of what that stepping in would mean to them and to the people. I'm pretty sure that Iranians are very independent and extremely brilliant and in every aspect. And I don't think they have much of the appreciation to be colonized in one way or another. So, in sense of being able to be helped in one way or another, again, to be, I guess, to raise awareness, to be able to get support for the women, for the children, for anyone who's being suppressed under the regime, it would definitely be helpful, but not to be replaced by another in a different form. That would be, I guess, in a very short form if I wanted to express that.
Thank you, Paris. Anyone else have an opinion on this subject? Tehran, I'll tell you what I think. So, in my opinion, I do often wonder about the involvement of outside influence because it is self serving in a lot of ways. And when I hear people advocating for America's specific action, in fact, when it comes to military action, it sometimes breaks my heart because when bombs are dropped, they very rarely actually kill the bad guys. They hit women and children and innocent workers first. So I'm never a fan of war. I don't think war specifically solves anything, as if war, you can never beat a country into greatness. I do also look at the wariness I have towards the countries that America has helped in the last 25 to 35 years, which include at all Iraq, Afghanistan, and countries of that nature. And I don't know if Iran needs that kind of help. The only help that I do know is that Iran needs our help. Iran needs our help to be behind the people of Iran. And this isn't just a minority group of people. This isn't people who, because a lot of people talk about Islamic Republic, if it should be there or not. I'm simply talking about human rights. Those political questions are for greater minds than money. All I know is that human rights, basic human rights, are those that should be afforded and awarded to every single human being on this planet. And I will always fight for human rights. I will always fight for principles. I'll leave the politics to those much better minds that always know what's right. All I know is when I see wrong. And in this specific instance, when it comes to hashtag Massa Amini, there was wrong. A 22-year young woman was beaten to death by the quote unquote instilled morality police in Iran. That was wrong. The forced wearing of the hijab and all the things that it leads to, that is wrong. The idea that the individual has no rights and that brutality, oppression, and suppression all lead to the foundation of injustice reoccurring time and time again, that is wrong. So I say again that simply being here, this is part of what's right. Being a part of a unified, strong front that points out what is wrong. Is there anyone who would like to be next in the queue?
I think I was
Yes,
very
sir.
deep.
Two people spoke at the same time.
It was just me. I think there was a gentleman who was trying to speak, or I may have heard it wrong. Oh,
And what were
actually, I
you
see
saying,
Farish there.
Parisa?
No, I thought it was like well said, actually. Kudos to you. I see Farish there tried to speak, actually.
Fershte, we would love to hear from you.
Thank you, everyone, for giving your time to this subject and paying attention to that. I think this is really what Iranian women need from international stages: awareness of people, because they are disappointed that other governments um, do not really take actions in this, and it is understandable in this chaotic world. They don't need more chaos, but we need your awareness, people's awareness. I am an Iranian woman. I was born in Iran, in a monarchy. The monarchy was economically very successful, but politically suppressive. Not to the extent that we see now, but still, in 1979, with the hope of more liberty, people came to the streets and this revolution happened. The leading party that now is in power was one of the parties, not all of them, but they cleared all the other parties. They went to the extent that not only they cleared other parties, but in between them, they went to the very fundamental ones. We have reformists that are not opposition, they were part of the same party, but now they are not also tolerated. Um, we have presidents that are now in home arrest. We have many political leaders that belong to the same party, but now they are suppressed. They can't even communicate with their people. They quiet all of the voices. They killed many in the prisons. They imprisoned many. Torture is really normal in the prisons, to the extent that many people were dead or were killed. I apologize for my English. I don't live in an English country, but I try my best.
Your English is perfect and we will understand you perfectly.
Okay, good. Um, Corruption in Iran is systematic, up to the top. Um, as a child, I witnessed many of this suppression and control and checks. and women became um, particularly a target of this oppression of the government. Their body is a subject through that the government controls women, but not only women, but also the next generation raised by those women. Um, we, as Iranian women, we are afraid of many, many, many things. We are censored in our families so that we conform to the norms, so that we are not arrested, um, we are not becoming a source of more problems for the families. And um, if you ask Iranian women, all of them are so afraid of police, not only in their country, but also when they go to other countries, when they see police in European countries. For sure, they have to feel peace, but what they they don't feel that. They try to escape police because police for them means that, oh, is my hijab enough? Am I doing something wrong? Just normal people. They are not criminals. They just want to be themselves, but still they doubt in themselves in front of police. And I think it's important. It's important that internationally we are aware of that, and we um, we ask that from our governments that do not tolerate this violence of the human rights that is happening on daily basis because of the peace, because we need Iran's oil, because we want to negotiate on atomic issues with Iran. I think um, Iran, well, I'm looking for the word. Bear me, please. Hostage 80 million people and more. Um, and they make problems everywhere. And we notice those problems that have international influence. If Iran's, um, yeah, yeah, I think we have to be aware of the violence of the human rights that's happening to Iran, and this awareness is a way to make it better and help people in Iran. Thank you all, even if you spend 1 minute to inform one more person on the world on this subject.
Thank you so much, Fereshte. Your namesake presents itself.
Um, it's not my actual name. My actual
Okay,
name is different. I'm sorry that I didn't use my actual name, but
I
it is
completely
important
understand.
for. Yeah, I chose those words. I would choose this name for myself if I could.
For
No
those who don't
problem.
know, Fereshte means angel. Also, very telling that an Iranian woman would use the word angel if she could name herself. Thirdly, thank you for heckling my compliment with the truth fetish there. We could have just rode that one out. We could have just rode that one out. That one was there. We were already there. Thank you again, fetish there, for speaking up and speaking out and speaking your mind. Amazingly true, vulnerable moments we're having here right now with people as we're discussing not only about Masa Amini, but the current situation in Iran. I do want to paint a picture for the people who aren't as familiar for Iran. The picture that we're painting, of course, is highlighting a lot of the negatives. Iran has many, many positives even in this day. And the biggest positive of Iran is its actual people. A lot of people of Iran were so pleased when Anthony Bourdain entered Iran and made the statement that Iran has the nicest people of all the places he's been in the world and has some of the most amazing food. Iran has a lot of pleasantries. Iran has an amazing, strong, ancient history. and a now that still exists. It has some of the best skiing in the world. It has some of the best architecture. It has some of the best landscapes. It has varying climates depending on which side and what part. It has this boistering cultural experience that comes from a mixture of diversity of the different types of people within Iran, whether they're Persian, Armenian, Lor, Baluchi, Turkish, Arab, Kurdish, Afghanistani. We have so many different rich cultures that make up this concept of Iran. It sits like a cat, but it purrs like a lion. And that's this concept. We don't want this painting to be just soiled. We want everyone to know that the real Iran is the heart of the Iranian people, which has always been as gold as the gold that's found within the ground. Unfortunately, there's been this dark cloud on Iran as the government has become this horribly oppressive, brutal regime that it began, and it never let up. Sure, there have been moments of what could be considered tolerance, but the truth of the matter is it's been an ongoing, consistent tragedy that has changed that very landscape which made Iran so beautiful to begin with. And that's what we're hoping to avoid. This isn't about the politics, it's simply about the principles. This isn't about religion. This isn't about religion. This is about the realism of dealing with life within Iran today. So, as we discussed, hashtag Masa Amini, the 22-year young woman who was murdered and brutally beaten by the morality police in Iran. What's going on currently in Iran in regards to Masa Amini's murder, and why you should care. The rhetorical you, the you that's within all of us, no matter where in the world you are or where in the world you are from. We should all care unanimously. If anyone would like to be next in the queue, please let me know, and I would love to add you.
I'd like to
Hello,
speak.
Tehran.
Tehran, Mr. Darren also he back channeled me and he says that he's late for work if he can get a chance to speak up.
In this particular case, we will have Mr. Darren go, and then Simone had spoken up. So we usually give much preferential treatment to the women in the room and make sure not to ever interrupt them. But because of Mr. Darren's work time restraint, we'll give this allotment and then we'll go to Simone. If I do mispronounce your name incorrectly or misspeak on a pronoun, please let me know. I would love to rectify the situation as soon as possible. Thank you so much, Mr. Darren. The floor is yours.
Okay. Can we go to the next person because I'm actually traveling, and then I'll be off. I'm actually speaking 5 minutes.
I believe that Mr. Darren was being kidnapped and none of us helped him right now. I don't know exactly what happened, Mr. Darren. We could not hear you specifically. If you could just
I'm saying that
reiterate
I'm
what you had said.
traveling. I'm saying that I'm
He's
traveling.
travelling and
I
he
can't
said he'll be
really.
available in 5 minutes.
I'll be available in 5 minutes. So let someone else
We
go
look
ahead of me.
forward
Yeah?
to that 5 minutes, Mr. Darren. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
brother.
Well, I understand that travel life as I am constantly on the road. I'm currently in Berlin. It is 8 a.m. I created this room approximately 5 hours ago. We're going strong. We're going to keep this room going. It is
At,
going to be an
at least he's
ongoing
not
room in
being
order to,
kidnapped by the Islamic Republic of Iran, because who knows what would happen. He's being abducted by aliens.
by aliens right now. That, I
But
mean,
I said at least he's not being abducted by the Islamic Republic of Iran, because who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, if you've seen a big white van outside, I would not go outside. And
yeah, I'm not really a fan of anything white, but we'll go on with Simone. Simone, if you could, please.
Yes, thank you, Tehran. I just want
Thank
to
you.
thank you. I want to talk about a couple of things that For those of our friends here who were born and raised here, or when if they came here real young and have not been involved with what's going on in Iranian politics, and just read the what's in the main media, major media, there's a few things to consider about Iran that are very unique. There's a mic open, friends. If you could check your mics, thank you. It echoes. There's some unique things about Iran. That's different about every other place in the world. I mean, every place is unique, but these are pretty ridiculous, unique things. One is the very name that this country has on the map and in the